What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining us right here on Tuesday night. It is Tuesday Night Titans, episode number 73 for your Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. I am your host, JD from New York, as always, joined by my very good friend and co-host on Tuesday nights. You may know him as the Solid Monster. What's going on, brother?
You know, if you were in front of me right now, I think I would smack the shit out of you because you told me
Oh, God.
I had to watch this QT Marshall video and before we went on the air here. And so I did. It's 2 minutes of my life I will never get back because of you.
Bro, you mean to tell me you're not ready to bring the boom on Sunday night?
Oh, no, I'm ready to bring the boom to you, but you're over there and I can't touch you, so that's not going to happen.
Chat, Jason doesn't want a double chocolate chunk cookie.
You know, I saw the Rizzler. I think he could lay off the double chocolate chunk cookies if I were him. Was he 7 years old, 8 years old, this kid?
Gotta be. I don't know, but he's uber popular apparently with the ladies.
I don't know what that says about our society, but okay.
I don't know, man. QT Marshall's bringing the doom. I don't know if that is the right choice of words to use during this current period in AEW television, man, but I just view from a distance. I don't really know what to say, but yes, that is happening on Sunday night. We will definitely be talking about Full Gear tonight on TNT episode 73. Thank you guys for joining us on this Tuesday night. We got a lot to get into. Man, how you feeling, man? Are you still lagging from that Jake Paul? It's Jake Paul. Logan Paul, I get them mixed up. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson boxing match that was a colossal waste of both of our times on Friday night?
Well, you know what I want to know is how does a fight like that even get sanctioned? Because you have a 58-year-old man and you have a 27-year-old. I guess it's Texas. So, I mean, in Texas, anything goes. But almost any other state, I don't even think that fight gets sanctioned. So it felt a little weird watching it. Mike looked great coming into the fight. Right?
Yeah, in the first round, he looked great.
Well, I'm saying, but like if you watch the training footage and everything else, I mean, he looked like a beast. And then the fight started and you got beyond the first round. And then reality set in that he's almost 60 years old. And yeah, I mean, the fight was a complete waste of time. But, you know, they had over 100 million viewers globally, over 100 million viewers. They said something like, I think it was close to 60% of all televisions in the U.S. were tuned into this fight between midnight and 1 a.m. So they got out of it what they wanted to. It was a freak show. It was a spectacle. Mike Tyson is still a draw after all these years. And I'm sure after the money he made off this, he's going to fight again at some point, right? I mean, how could he not? And we're going to get more of these. But I just want to know how the fight was even sanctioned to begin with.
Well, maybe in the next fight, he'll actually throw an uppercut.
You know, I said this on my show. He had the chance to do the funniest thing ever in the last 10 seconds of that fight. Because at the very end, Jake Paul, basically, he said the fight's over. There were 10 seconds left. And he stands there and he bows to Mike Tyson. And all it would have taken was one uppercut to connect. And it would have been the mother of all moments. And he didn't do it. He probably couldn't do it. He looked gassed. He looked like he was in pain. But man, what a moment that would have been. As Jake Paul bows to Mike Tyson, if he just would have fucking lifted him 6 inches up off the ground, he would have been a hero to so many people.
Yeah, I would have loved to see that myself. I was hoping for a knockout. We didn't get it. Or at least a Tyson victory. We didn't get it. And Jake Paul is... he's just a dominating figure in the world of boxing, man. I'm not the biggest boxing fan, never was, but you know, you put my conspiracy theory tinfoil cap on, man. I don't know. A lot of people were saying
you saw Logan Paul. You saw Logan Paul at the end there, right? He was trying to plant the seed for something with Tyson down the road.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people want to see him get knocked out more than his brother. So,
but see, that's the whole thing, though. Like they're great heels.
They are.
They're so hateable that I think. There are people who are willing to pay. I don't even know how much this pay-per-view went for, but there are people who are willing to, well, I mean, I guess it was on Netflix, but if it was on pay-per-view, you would have had people willing to spend good money, I think, to see one of these two guys get knocked out. So they have that quality about them. I mean, I think that's part of what makes him such a good heel in WWE, right? He is so hateable, which is kind of funny that at the beginning there, they were trying to push him as a babyface. I'm like, this is completely the wrong role for him. What are you doing? Like he's a born heel, but eventually they came around and they realized it.
Yeah, we'll be seeing him sooner rather than later going into WrestleMania season. But yes, the fight was a waste of time, and I regret even covering it and doing a watch along. So I should have just done my SmackDown stream and just said, screw it, do whatever else on a Friday night. But at least we had Morrow. At least we had Mr. Ronaldo. So
that's true.
It wasn't all that bad.
He was trying to work wrestling references into his commentary.
It's always a great thing. Always a great thing. I wish we would see him on Netflix come January 6th, but that is Joe Tess's job. We will talk about Monday Night Raw. We will get into all the little news and notes about Monday night.
Actually, that's not his job. That will be Michael Cole's
That
job.
will be Michael. Yes, that's correct. Michael Cole and Mr. Pat McAfee will be coming back, and Joe Tess and Wade Barrett will be moving over to Friday night. But
Corey Graves.
One could dream. Tony Khan should open up the checkbook for Mr. Moro Ronaldo if he wants to start throwing money around for fucking Guns N' Roses. But
you mean you don't want Excalibur on commentary anymore in the lead position?
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Pile driver?
No.
You don't want that? No. Pile driver?
No, I don't want Excalibur anywhere near my TV screen.
Okay. All right.
Yes, we will talk about AEW, Excalibur. We'll talk about Monday night. We got a lot of WWE news and notes, some on the Netflix. We got a destination for that show on January 6th. And we have a new theme song coming on January 6th as well, as Triple H wants to start handing out more championships. I have Sidro in the goddamn chat scaring the shit out of me on Friday night. He's like, JD, the hardcore title's coming back to TV. I'm like, no, it ain't, man. Will you shut the fuck up already? Please, no more championships. He gave Travis Scott the hardcore title, and then everybody's like, oh, look, another title coming back to WWE. He said it'll be defended on January 6th. No, it was just a token of his gratitude for the new theme music for Monday Night Raw. So we'll talk about all that. We got news on Cody, Kevin Owens, CM Punk. Is he the fifth man? We will put our conspiracy theory caps on and talk about that. We got no answers coming out of Monday Night Raw on Monday with Seth Rollins going up against Bronson Reed. And we will talk Kenny Omega, Fightful's interview with Kenny Omega, which was ridiculous. News on Danhausen and AEW downscaling to smaller venues in 2025. Gee, I wonder what it was. Was it the Collision that sold 1,000 tickets in Columbus, Ohio, or was it the fact that they're going into Chicago and they barely have 2,200 tickets out the door? I don't know. Which one is it? I don't know.
Well, that's scary because that's basically their home market at this point. I mean, I know Jacksonville is, but they love Chicago, and they've run there so many times. I wonder if they burned the market out. But when I saw that they were struggling to move even 2,000 tickets in Chicago, I mean, I think that says a lot right there.
Says a lot. You guys know what the problem is. We'll talk about it later on tonight here on TNT episode 73. Make sure you guys get those super chats in. It's the best way to support what Jason and I do here on Tuesday nights. So get them on in. We'll hang out at the end of the show as always. And if you guys want to hit that thumbs up, we got upwards towards 1,300 people in here already. I'm sure people will be flowing in after NXT is over, which I don't know why anybody's watching that show tonight, but you guys will certainly make your way over here after that's over. Hit that thumbs up. Let's try for 750 likes tonight live on episode 73. And make sure you guys go and check out Jason on YouTube and on Twitter. You guys know where to find him. And his @ on X is on screen right there. And you guys know where to find him on YouTube. Everything will be linked down in the description of this very video. Jason, as always, what do you want to start us off with tonight?
Why don't we start off with the women's United States title?
Okay.
Because we got the brackets on SmackDown on Friday night. So we know who's in the tournament. The biggest surprise to me, I thought we were going to get some Raw talents in there, and it's all SmackDown. It's pretty. Were we hearing things? Was I hearing things? Were you hearing things? Because I know they mentioned that all women would be vying for this championship, and then we got SmackDown only brackets. Yeah. So I mean, Michael Cole made a comment the week before, and it was a passing comment. Like, we had the Nick Aldis video introducing the championship. They cut back to the announcers, and Cole mentioned Raw and SmackDown. And I don't remember exactly what the words were, but it would lead you to believe that it was going to be a mixed brand championship. But then on Friday, he mentioned Raw again. But it was, I guess in a way, what he was saying was, this will be the first ever singles women's non-world championship ever contested on Raw or SmackDown. Like, there's never been a title like this before. So I don't know if they changed their minds about how they wanted to approach the tournament, but if you watched that show 2 weeks ago, you would be led to believe that you would have women from Raw and women from SmackDown. So when I saw the bracket, I was genuinely surprised because I thought the title would be able to be defended across both shows, which is, I think, the right way to do it. But clearly it's going to be SmackDown exclusive. And of course, I don't know exactly when it will happen, but I think it's inevitable we're going to get an Intercontinental title on Raw at some point.
Well, I mean, that was my next question to you because I don't know how you felt about watching Monday Night last night, but there were two promos in the show, one from Dakota Kai and one from Lyra Valkyria, and both I made a comment on live last night on my stream. I'm like, gee, please tell me there's an Intercontinental Championship coming for the women's division without actually telling me with those two promos that I had last night. Did you get that feeling as well?
With the Dakota one, I did, because at the end of her promo, she said, I will be a champion again. And I don't see her being the women's world champion. So that tells me that there's at least serious consideration, if not a plan in place already to introduce a mid-card title. I mean, look, if you have an exclusive title to SmackDown for the women, they're going to have one for Raw. I mean, it's always 1 for 1. So it's just a matter of when they choose to introduce it. It could be next week. It could be in 3 months. But by early next year, there will be an Intercontinental Championship for the women on Raw.
So the United States Championship tournament on SmackDown looks like this. We got one match already in the books. Triple H loves his triple threat tournaments. I knew he was going to do this instead of just doing a standard one-on-one.
Well, he did this. Wasn't this the way they did it with the World Heavyweight title on Raw when they introduced it? I think it was also triple threats.
Yeah, he has a tendency to do the triple threat tournaments, which I don't mind because it gets more women involved. But there's just something about a standard one-on-one tournament that I like, just a little bit more, just simplified. But Bayley, Candice LeRae, and B-Fab were the opening match in the tournament on Friday night. Bayley went on to advance to the semifinals. Candice LeRae, she will be in War Games, as you guys saw on Monday night last night. She's on Team Liv with Nia and Tiffany Stratton. B-Fab, I don't know if people are really talking about B-Fab coming out of this thing, but I was actually genuinely taken aback, Jason, by how okay she looked in the ring. I wouldn't say she was like, oh my God, you got to go watch this performance from B-Fab type of situation. But I remember her in 2.0 on NXT, and she was not looking good at all. She was very rough around the edges, but she actually held her own against two of probably the best women's wrestlers in the entire company on Friday night, and I thought she looked great.
The only wrestling I remember her doing in NXT, they put her and Elektra Lopez in the ring together, and both of them were very, very green. And we really haven't seen them wrestle at all on the main roster. I don't think before this past week, maybe B-Fab had one match, but I don't think either one of them had wrestled. And there have been reports that she's been training with Natty. I know Natty and her husband TJ. I think they have their own school. I think it's kind of like a finishing school. But I think she's been doing some training with them. So you could see that she's made improvements. And clearly that match on Friday was designed to put the spotlight more on her than on Bayley or Candice. Because she got more attention and focus in that match than the other two. And I thought she looked fine. You know, again, it wasn't anything great, but it was an improvement over the last time that I remember seeing her in the ring. So yeah, I thought she looked fine in that match. I didn't expect her to win, but I thought she held her own.
The other brackets include, and we're staying on the left side, Bayley is advancing on the left side of the bracket. And then we got Bianca Belair, Chelsea Green, and Blair Davenport, who has zero chance to win this tournament, but I'm glad she's in there. Bianca Belair and Chelsea Green in the same match, Jason. How do you feel about that? Because a lot of people, when this championship was announced, Chelsea Green was at the top of a lot of people's lists to win the United States Championship. We even discussed this last week on episode 72 as her being a potential to win this entire tournament. With Bianca Belair in that same match, it seems unlikely that Chelsea Green would advance. But how do you feel about Chelsea Green not advancing further in this tournament? Now, I don't want to say it's not going to happen because it could very well happen, but I think all signs point to Bianca Belair going up against Bayley.
Well, I have Chelsea moving on to the next round. So I think that at the very least, she's going to move on to the second round. I think that that's going to be one of those surprise outcomes in this tournament because I think you want to have at least one surprise. The predictable way to go would be to have Bianca move on. Bianca obviously still does not like Bayley. It's one of the things I love is that whenever we see them together in a backstage segment, just the contempt that Bianca still has for this woman, because Damage Control made her life a living hell for like 2 years. So that would be the match I think most people would expect. I'm predicting that Chelsea moves on. I think she ekes out a win, sneaks it out somehow, moves on to the next round, and she takes on Bayley.
Okay, I'm going Bianca, so we will definitely keep an eye on that for Friday night. So Jason has Chelsea, and I have Bianca going on to wrestle Bayley on this United States Championship title tournament bracket. Jade Cargill on the opposite side, Bianca's partner, is wrestling Michin, who was also at the top of a lot of people's lists to possibly win the United States Championship, and Piper Niven. Now, I think all signs here, a lot of people tend to think that Jade Cargill is going to win. Do you feel the same thing about Michin advancing in this tournament for the United States Championship?
No, I think that Piper Niven is going to move on. I have her as my pick to move on to the next round.
So you aren't going with either Bianca or Jade. That is very interesting.
No, I don't think they make it out of the first round.
Okay, I'm going to go Jade. I don't know why I'm going uber predictable here, but I'm going Jade Cargill. Naomi and Tiffany Stratton will be in the same bracket, along with Elektra Lopez, who has no chance to win this thing. So hopefully she looks as good in her match as B-Fab looked in her match with Bayley, and Candice LeRae. But I'm going with Naomi, and I think, spoiler alert, I think Naomi's going to win the entire thing. I think Naomi's going to win the United States Championship.
Well, I mean, that's what I said on my SmackDown review on Friday. I think we're getting a Bayley-Naomi final. I think all signs point to the two of them in the finals, and they did announce that the finals will be on Saturday night's main event, which I think is the right place to do it. I don't know if you've noticed this, but this has been something I've felt over the last several months, going back even to earlier in the spring. Anytime that we have a backstage segment on TV with Bayley and Naomi, there's this weird sort of underlying tension there. Even though they're friends and they're very friendly with each other, and I think it goes back to when Bayley had the belt, there were a few segments where Naomi was pulling a Randy Orton with Cody, where she was kind of eyeballing the title, or she'd have her hand on the title for like an extended period of time. And it didn't really go anywhere, but it's something I've noticed, and I think it's building to something, and it could be a Naomi heel turn on Saturday night's main event. But I agree in that I think she wins the entire thing. She had a really good match with Nia Jax on Friday. I thought that was a really good main event that the two of them had. She fell short, but they had a hell of a match. It was a million different fucking people who interfered, either on the Tron or who came down to ringside. But I think that she goes on to win the U.S. Championship. Bayley's not going to win. I mean, Bayley doesn't need it. And I know there are a lot of people who feel that somebody like Michin or Chelsea Green should win it. I think they will. I think this championship could help elevate people like that, but I don't think that they should be the first one. I think you do want to put that title on somebody who has a more established name. And then over time, you can have people like Michin or Chelsea Green get their shot. And maybe the championship could help elevate them to a higher position on the card. But I don't know if you have Bayley and Naomi, but I got those two in the finals with Naomi going over.
Well, I initially, when I talked about it on Friday, I was going with Jade and Bianca, which, I mean, kind of sounds ludicrous at this point, being that they're still the tag team champions. But I did have Naomi winning the tournament, or at least in consideration to win the tournament, because I do think she is the right woman to do so after all the shortcomings that she had in her first go-around, and then even coming into this year when she returned at the Royal Rumble. She really hasn't done much of anything outside of a couple of great matches here and there on Friday night. But I feel like her being a babyface champion and then putting the championship on her would really solidify that championship. And I think out of all the women in this tournament, rather, she deserves it, I think, more than anybody because of the hard work that she's done. And I do think that people need to start giving her flowers, because bringing Nia Jax to a match like that on Friday night, that was probably one of Nia's, if not Nia's, best match in this entire title run. And not a lot of people can say that they've done that with Nia Jax. So I think Naomi deserves her flowers, honestly.
Yeah, but I would also not take things completely away from Nia Jax. I mean, she has been noticeably better this run than she was in her previous run. And this is not like it's her first really good match since she came back. I mean, she's had some clunkers, but the match at the beginning of the year with Becky Lynch, the match at Elimination Chamber with Rhea Ripley, and there have been a couple of other TV matches. So Nia is also improved from the last time we saw her. But yeah, Naomi went out there and gave her probably one of the best matches that she has had this run. The other reason I think that it makes sense for someone like Naomi, a babyface, to go over, both women's world champions are heels. So I just really don't, and again, maybe Naomi will go heel, maybe she won't. I'm not saying she will, but wouldn't it make more sense to put this title, at least initially, on a babyface? Otherwise, you got 3 women's singles heel champions. That just seems like overkill to me.
Yeah, I do agree with that, absolutely. I know AEW's champions, they're all heels, aren't they? Every champion in AEW is a heel right now, currently?
No. We have, well, let's see. We got Moxley, we have Perry, we have Private Party.
That's right. Most of the champions in AEW are heels. Yeah, so it's definitely heel dominated for sure throughout both companies. But yes, Naomi, I'm picking to win the United States Championship, and I think that is going to be a big deal, good deal for her. We will stick with the Friday Night SmackDown discussion because there were 2 instances on Friday night that really set the show apart from previous episodes of SmackDown, which have felt lifeless and just kind of formulaic. But when you got good story kind of woven throughout the show, then you see the great show that SmackDown could be. We got Cody Rhodes starting the show, and he called out Kevin Owens. He didn't get Kevin Owens. He got Nick Aldis instead. Now, I want to preface this by saying, before Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes and the discussion started Friday Night SmackDown, a lot of people, including me, I'll raise my hand on this one, were claiming and predicting that the War Games situation, the 5th man for both teams, would be Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. After looking at what we got on Friday night, I'm glad that they didn't go in that direction. I just want to say that right out to everybody here. I'm glad they didn't go that direction. So we are obviously doing something with Cody and Kevin Owens at Survivor Series. What that is right now, we don't know. But Cody Rhodes wants Kevin Owens, and Nick Aldis said no. He's got to wait, and they're going to handle this internally. Kevin Owens wasn't allowed in the building. They had shown a clip from him recording a promo via his cell phone in his car. He will be there next week to have a face-to-face with Cody Rhodes on Friday Night SmackDown. Now, the thing is, everybody, Jason, is predicting, what do we do with Cody and Kevin Owens? I know you and I discussed this a little bit last week. We both went on our individual shows on Friday and probably said the same thing. And I think it's ridiculous for management in WWE after the pile driver spot to give Kevin Owens a WWE title match at Survivor Series. I don't think that's the logical decision to make here. Even Cody Rhodes wanting to put the championship on the line against Kevin Owens. Why would he have to do that? Why should he do that? He doesn't have to do that. That's a dumb babyface decision. He should not do that to get back at Kevin Owens for what he did to Randy Orton. So what we're doing, my prediction is lights out match, unsanctioned match. WWE wants nothing to do with it. They'll give Cody what he wants. They'll give Kevin Owens what he wants. Survivor Series, non-title match. Kevin Owens wins. He beats Cody Rhodes, and he gets his championship match at Saturday night's main event. That match could have a stipulation behind it. I heard a rumor of a possible steel cage match potentially on Long Island, whatever the case may be. That'll be the championship match, and then that's where we see Randy Orton return, and he helps Cody Rhodes beat Kevin Owens, and then we start the KO and Randy Orton feud going into 25.
Yeah, I don't think there's a need for the match at Survivor Series to be a title match. It doesn't make any sense. You get 2 matches out of it. The second one can be a championship match. They're really going all in on that Saturday night's main event show. I mean, that they have no PLE scheduled for December or January. And now we come to find out there's going to be a second Saturday night's main event on January 25th, which is a week before the Royal Rumble, which is kind of surprising. But those shows are effectively going to fill the gap of there being no pay-per-view. So they're going to really make that show as special as possible. So Cody and KO for the championship on that show. I agree with that. Absolutely. Survivor Series, it does not have to be a title match. I do think that Kevin Owens has to win because you need to have some reason why he would then get a championship match. And so that then leads into Saturday night's main event. And, you know, what you said about Randy Orton, that's probably the way it's going to go. But I go back to what I said on the show last week. Don't count out the possibility that Kevin Owens could walk out of this as WWE champion. And it might be unlikely. I'm not saying that it's the favored outcome here, but I don't see the harm in doing that. I don't see the harm in Cody Rhodes not going a full year as WWE champion and maybe somebody else wins it, and even a month or two later he wins it back. I don't see there being any issue if that's something they wanted to do just to shake things up a little bit. But whether or not they do that remains to be seen. But I do think it plays out, the way that you explained.
I'm excited for it. I think this is a similar Kevin Owens that we've seen in the past, but obviously you add Cody Rhodes and the story dynamic that he brings to the table. It just takes it to the next level. So I'm really excited about what's going on here. And Randy Orton, I don't know if people are still anticipating him turning heel, anticipating that when that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But again, I know you said that the likelihood of it not happening is high, but Kevin Owens possibly winning the World Championship should be on the table.
I wish they would. I really do.
I get what you're saying, because I feel like there is a staleness to SmackDown with Cody being the champion, and I know you have previously stated that not everybody needs to hold the championship for fucking 2 years.
Yeah, but it's that, but I also just think they're really doing a good job so far of portraying Kevin Owens as this dangerous individual. Triple H kind of went over the top with it a little bit, but when he was telling Randy, like, he's got a different look in his eyes. It's not the same Kevin Owens that you and I know. And then the pile driver, is terrible as it looked, the way they all sold it as this major injury angle. This man is unhinged. Oh my God, he used this banned maneuver. They're really doing a good job with it. And I feel like the cherry on top would be him going in there and actually, now you don't want to put Cody out for an extended period of time, but again, this guy, there's no telling what he may do, and he'll go in there and do whatever it takes, like he used to in NXT. We've seen this side of Kevin Owens before. That would really put it over the top if he did something to get him the championship. And again, then you have Cody Chase to have to get it back. And then you got Randy coming back, and what role does he play in that? Yeah, the fact that he put Randy out, and we know Randy's going to come back and go after him, again, it makes it more likely that he would cost Owens the chance to win the championship. But man, it would be very tempting if I had the power of the pen here, not to book it in such a way where Owens gets at least a short run with that title, to really put this new character over the top.
I agree with that part, but I just don't see it happening. So I'm going to put you on the spot here, because I know I seen a couple of people this week, and I think I talked about it somewhere this week in the last 7 days, that the rumor is Cody went on I think he was interviewed at Complex Con in Las Vegas, and he was interviewed about potential plans at WrestleMania 41, and he continues to say, keep the rumors going. Everybody is going to be genuinely surprised about what the plans are for everybody involved going into WrestleMania, because they asked him about The Rock and his involvement. Is there going to be a Rock-Cody match? Obviously, he's not going to divulge any of that information, but I think the growing speculation in the IWC is that Cody is going to be defending the WWE Championship against John Cena at WrestleMania, and we're going to get Roman versus The Rock at WrestleMania Night 2 in Las Vegas. If you had the pen, how are you booking WrestleMania for Cody Rhodes? Are you doing Randy Orton? Are you doing Rock? Or are you doing John Cena?
Cody and Cena is an interesting one. I mean, it would obviously be a marquee match. And I know Cody wants to wrestle John Cena. I mean, he's it's clear as day he wants to work with him. I don't remember exactly when it was. Cena was on Raw some time ago. Maybe it was last year. And he was leaving as Cody was coming out. And there was a moment that sticks with me where you could see Cody was saying something to him, and he was basically pitching the idea like you and me. And Cena was like, we'll talk about it. Like, so he wants to work with John. Not that it would be hard for fans to buy into John Cena just going to a championship match at WrestleMania. But again, this is a guy who, the last time we saw him, the announcers were openly talking about the fact that he has not won a singles match on TV in like 6 years. And he got spiked into oblivion by Solo Sikoa. And I just think if you have him back for an entire year, what's the rush to put him in a championship match? And
there is no rush. I don't know what the rush is.
There is no rush. And to put him in a championship match would have to mean he either wins the Royal Rumble, which he very well might, or he would have to win the Elimination Chamber match. And then that would automatically, put him in the main event without having to otherwise, earn the right by winning a bunch of matches. You could do that. And people are not going to be upset about that. I think people would love to see that match. It's just not the way I would go with it. I just think there are other things you could be doing with Cena and then build to maybe something at SummerSlam. where he goes after either the WWE title or the World Heavyweight title, and you can still tell that story. I might even put number 17 on him, but I just don't know if you do that at WrestleMania. So I know Cody's been dropping these little teases. I don't even know if Cody knows for sure what's going on at WrestleMania, because after what we saw this year, I mean, who the hell knows? If Rock's going to be involved, then, you know, who knows? Things may get blown up again. But right now, if you put me on the spot, what do I think the Cody Rhodes match at WrestleMania is going to be? I still come back to Cody and Rock. What's the Cody match I want to see? Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton.
Man, that Royal Rumble is going to be interesting, huh? Because if The Rock gets Cody, that means he would have to win the Royal Rumble. I don't really see that happening.
No. He could win the Chamber.
The Rock win the Chamber.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cena.
Now, I'm talking about if they do Cody Rock, The Rock would have to win the Royal Rumble. I think The Rock would have to...
No. He's The Rock.
Oh, we're gonna have part 2 all over again. Just whatever, man. I'm getting the championship match. Fuck the Royal Rumble.
Dude, he's on the board. I mean, come on. He could do whatever he wants. Why does he have to win the Royal Rumble? You could have somebody win the Royal Rumble and go after the World Heavyweight title, and then Rock can basically just anoint himself for the other championship. You could use the Elimination Chamber for something else. Like, yes, what you're saying makes sense logically, but don't just cast it aside. Well, then Rock has to just win this or has to win that. Rock doesn't have to win anything. He's The Rock. He's in a category all by himself, and he is in a position of power. So don't just assume that he's got to win the Chamber or he has to win the Rumble in order to get a title match. The rules do not apply to him the way they apply to everybody else.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I'm just saying. Am I wrong? The rules do not apply to him in the same way they apply to everybody else. That is a fact.
Well, all I know is he's going to want to be back very, very soon because his new movie, Red One, only made $11 million in its opening weekend and had a $250 million budget. So he'll be back.
I thought it was $30 million. I thought it was
was it
34 million.
That might have been here in the United States. Then I don't know. Maybe it might have been 30 million worldwide, but $250 million budget though. That's a big L.
Yeah, no, that's terrible. I mean, originally the movie, it was not supposed to have a theatrical release. It was supposed to be streaming only. So I don't know how late in the game they made the decision to put it in theaters, but obviously it backfired on them. And I said the same thing on the on my Raw review last night. I don't even know how Rock came up. Somebody brought the movie up and said, no, it's a good movie. I saw it. I said, look, I'm not saying it's a reflection on the quality of the movie. I'm just saying when you have a $250 million plus budget for a movie like this, I don't even know if that includes the marketing cost. It could be that plus marketing. But, you know, you put the movie in theaters and it makes what it makes. Obviously, that's terrible. And Rock may be interested in maybe coming back to WWE a little bit sooner, maybe, than he otherwise might have planned. I mean, look, we got that Netflix Raw coming up on January 6th. I'd be shocked if he's not one of the people on that show.
Oh, he's there. I even say he's going to be at Survivor Series at the end of the War Games match.
Well, I mean, he was there at the end of the main event of Bad Blood, so I can't rule it out completely, but I'm not expecting a Rock appearance next weekend.
We will see. I think The Rock is the puppet master behind all this nonsense with the Bloodline, but should be a very interesting story to see play out. But speaking of the Bloodline, that's the other big thing that happened on Friday Night SmackDown, and I think everybody very much enjoyed what we got with Bronson Reed becoming the fifth man for Solo Sikoa and Bloodline 2.0. And it was, I think the phrase used by the commentary team on Friday night, Michael Cole and Corey Graves, labeled it an assassination of Roman Reigns. That was great. Bronson Reed has been, for the last 4 months, I know Jason and I have talked about this, not only on this show, but away on our own separate channels. The last 4 months for Bronson Reed have been absolutely tremendous. It's like top-tier star-making shit with Bronson Reed. From the tsunamis on Seth Rollins, 6 of them, R-Truth, he did another 4 or so to R-Truth, and it was just from that moment on, Rollins went out, he had that little mini feud with Braun Strowman, and it was just what was basically carrying Monday Night Raw for the most part, and I thought everything about what they did was great. And then you fast track to what happened here. He's back with Rollins. He had a great match at Crown Jewel, a decent match on TV last night. And now he's in the main event of Survivor Series with the fucking most powerful family in the entire business. So you look at what Bronson Reed has done Jason and I have called Jonah matches in the past, and he went on to the Indies and wrestled Okada, made a name for himself for a little bit.
He beat Okada.
He beat Okada. Triple H brought him back, and it was a little rocky. A lot of people didn't really think he was going to amount to much of anything in this second go-around. It took him a little bit to get going, and now he's one of the best things about the entire company, genuinely. So you look at what he did on Friday, Jason. I think WrestleVotes said it perfectly, and I think everybody uttered that same segment. He fit like a fucking glove in the bloodline. He's not in the bloodline completely, but he is part Samoan. But, man, he looks the part, and him in the ring with Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns, man, that was some top-tier shit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just really happy for him. You know, whatever you think about agreeing with there being 5-on-5 or it should be 4-on-4, you know, for him to think of where he was and how many PLEs has he even wrestled on this year, right? WrestleMania, maybe, Crown Jewel. You could probably count them on one hand and still have fingers left over. Like, he has not had an opportunity like this in his entire career. And so now, not only has he been in the mix now the last few months, and they've really built him in that finish up as a major deal, but he is going to be in the main event of Survivor Series. He's going to be in War Games. So for him, I'm super happy for him. I think he's going to make the most of the opportunity as he has so far. And I think it's a great spot. And like you said, looking at him standing with those guys, I don't know if it's going to extend beyond Survivor Series. Probably not. I don't think he needs to be in the bloodline. But man, I mean, he did look like he fit that part perfectly. And I'm just really happy for him because I know he's been busting his ass, and he wasn't at Elimination Chamber when they were in Australia earlier this year. And I'm sure that bummed him out. I think he and his wife were having a kid. So that was like a big story at the time. Like, how do you not have him on that show? But now this is the biggest opportunity he's had. And I think he's going to knock it out of the park.
Yes, in the chat, who said it? TK Banks, Jonah versus Jacob Fatu was indeed a main event at a House of Glory show. Yes, it was. So now they're on the same team at Survivor Series. So look at that. Full circle, man. Gotta love House of Glory, man. Bringing everybody together, you know?
That was in the heavyweight title tournament.
Yes, it was.
That we had. You talk about heavyweights. There you go.
Two of the best in the business, for sure. Bronson Reed in Survivor Series, and he did a tsunami to Roman Reigns, which looked fantastic. And Roman Reigns now knows what Bronson Reed brings to the table. Very excited about that match and his inclusion there. But the inclusion of Bronson Reed, Jason, was something that really sparked a major discussion on social media within the IWC, because we were all privy to the spoilers. I think even if you didn't read the spoilers, you kind of knew where everything was going into Monday night before it aired last night on USA Network. And what we got was Rollins and Bronson Reed in the main event. Now, Solo Sikoa, he asked Seth Rollins if he wanted to be the fifth man before we even learned that Bronson Reed was going to join the Bloodline 2.0. And Seth Rollins said no. He would never team with a cosplay tribal chief. Sami Zayn before that asked Seth Rollins to be on the OG Bloodline team because of what he did last year, and he aided in Cody Rhodes, even though he didn't want to win War Games last year. He did it last year. He doesn't want to do it this year. He does not want to team with Roman Reigns, and he uttered that same sentiment last night with an even more emphatic statement. Under no circumstances would he ever stand side by side with Roman Reigns. So we got the main event. Solo Sikoa was out there because of what transpired last week on Monday night, and Rollins saying no. Solo Sikoa helped interfere in the Bronson Reed-Rollins main event and help Bronson Reed win. It was as simple could be. Very disappointing, very anticlimactic. There was no big attack. There was no surprise about Rollins claiming he's going to team with Roman Reigns. Nothing. It was just very basic and formulaic stuff by WWE.
Yeah, but what did you expect? I mean, it was a taped show. So
I know.
What did you expect them to do? Because they still had to shoot the angle on Friday. So there was really only so much they could do anyway on that show, unless they taped the backstage segment and snuck it in there at the end.
Maybe. I expected more than just Solo Sikoa raising Bronson Reed's hand and them going off the air.
I didn't. That's exactly what I expect. And not just because the spoilers were out there, but literally. But that's exactly what I expected. So I don't know why you're surprised by this.
Well, regardless, we got Rollins now kind of in limbo. He's asked, or been asked rather, to join the OG Bloodline, and now he's denied them twice, which now has sparked the conversation of who is the fifth man for the OG Bloodline. We can go over a couple of people that make sense outside of Seth Rollins. I know the discussion has landed on Brock Lesnar, which I don't think, and Jason doesn't think, that it's going to be Brock Lesnar, especially right now that Vince and the lawsuit's still ongoing. So I don't think it's going to be Lesnar, even though he is a Paul Heyman guy and he has history with Roman Reigns. I don't think that's going to be the situation. Braun Strowman, being that him and Bronson Reed had a feud for a little bit this year, and him and Roman also have history from years ago. I don't think that's going to be the case either. Seth Rollins, he was the one that was axed. I guess he makes sense, but and I'll stop there. How do you make sense of that, Jason? If you're going to include Seth Rollins, is Bronson Reed being on the other team and him losing to Bronson Reed last night enough for him to say, especially after he said, under no circumstances will I stand side by side with Roman Reigns, then all of a sudden he's on OG Bloodline's team as the fifth man. Is that enough to get Seth Rollins as the fifth man?
No, and I just feel like they kind of back themselves into a corner if that's how this ends up being, because he made it pretty clear last night. Like, the reason he cannot agree to team with these men, he would love to team with the Usos and love to team with Sami Zayn. But if he stands side by side with Roman Reigns and they win and they vanquish, the great value bloodline, that they would be putting power back in the hands of Roman Reigns. And he cannot do that. He cannot live with himself and the idea that he would be partially responsible for that. So then when you hear that, under no circumstance that I could think of would it make sense for Seth Rollins to go back on his word without him looking like a complete fucking hypocrite. So after last night, it seems a lot less likely to me that that's going to happen. The way that I think it should go down, we haven't talked about Paul Heyman and what happened at the end of SmackDown, that great cliffhanger that they had at the end of the show. And also a lot of people who don't seem to understand how cell phones work. But we had the tease of Roman calling Paul Heyman, call the wise man, and then he gets the recording saying that the number has been disconnected. And Roman just looks completely heartbroken and devastated by this news, which I don't know why he should, because Paul Heyman got murdered by the bloodline, and evidently, Roman Reigns didn't care enough to check up on him. So basically,
it's almost as if he didn't know why.
Yeah. Fuck Roman Reigns. I agree with Paul Heyman. You can go fuck yourself. So you have that hanging out there. They don't introduce Paul Heyman back into the story unless he's going to tie into this in some way. Now we have a couple of shows, well, 3. We have SmackDown this week, and then we have 2 shows next week before Survivor Series. If it's me, I don't even bring Paul Heyman back to TV on any of those shows. I don't tell people who the fifth man is even going to be until we get to Survivor Series. I go into Survivor Series, they're 5-on-4. It's a handicap match. They can't find anyone. Seth Rollins is not willing to go back on his word. They could ask other people. They say no. You go into that show with one man down, and right before the match begins is when you have Paul Heyman come out. You hear his voice, right? He walks out, and then he introduces whoever the fifth man is going to be. And if you wait and you do that, it can't be Seth Rollins. Because if you're going to do that, it's got to be someone even bigger. It's got to be someone people aren't thinking of. And so at that point, if you just bring out Seth, it's going to be underwhelming. But that's how I think you do it. And if you do it that way, yeah, CM Punk would probably be at the very top of the list, because he made it very clear to Roman months ago, look, he's my friend. He's off limits. Right? He told him that on SmackDown. He goes, look, he's my guy. He's off limits. So we know there's still a relationship there between Heyman and Punk. The only thing is that's weird to me. Are you really going to bring back CM Punk in his very first match back after Hell in a Cell is basically going to be another Hell in a Cell, but with 2 rings instead of 1? Like, isn't that strange? Like, you're going to throw him right back into a cage match again after Hell in a Cell?
Looking at it head on, yeah, it is weird.
It's
but
weird.
I said last night, if you ask Punk, hey, man, you want to be in War Games? What do you think he's going to say? Fuck yeah, man, I'll be in War Games.
Yeah, but of course he's going to say, fuck yeah. Anybody on that roster, you could walk up to Apollo Crews. Hey, you want to be in War Games? Fuck yeah. Who's going to say no? I'm just saying logically, it'd be kind of weird. Not that it can't be done, but just like the last match, that great match with Drew McIntyre, and they killed each other and they bled. And then the very next time we see CM Punk, he's walking into War Games. It's like, what, are they trying to kill this guy? He was able to make it out of Hell in a Cell unscathed. injury-free. Now you're going to throw him into a War Games match. It's like, you're tempting fate by doing that.
It won't be that bad. I mean, they'll probably just mirror what they had Randy Orton do last year. Randy Orton didn't do much of anything in War Games last year either. So it's like Punk. Well, I think Punk could walk away with a 10, 12-minute excursion in War Games and walk away scot-free.
Yeah, well, he doesn't. I don't even think I would have Heyman come out at the beginning of the match. I think it's probably something you save for later on.
Yeah.
And when the OG crew looks like they're nearing the end, that's when Heyman comes out and he introduces the fifth man. So you want to build it up for maximum drama. And I think that's the way you do it. Punk would have to be number one on the, if not Rollins, Punk would have to be number one. I don't think it's going to be Brock. You mentioned Braun Strowman. Absolutely a possibility, but that would be underwhelming. You can't wait until the pay-per-view, I think, and introduce him, because I just feel like that's not a big enough name for that spot. And then there's another name that you didn't mention, and you could chime in here with what you think about this. What about The Rock? Now, I would just be gobsmacked if The Rock comes back and wrestles unannounced at Survivor Series. Almost anything except the WrestleMania pay-per-view, I would be shocked if Rock stepped back in the ring. But if they're desperate and they've exhausted all of their options, and the last time we saw Rock, he was teaming up with Roman Reigns, would you, or can you envision? Remember, Paul Heyman had 2 cell phones.
He did.
You remember that?
He did.
He had one cell phone for Roman Reigns, and who was the other cell phone for?
It was for The Rock, and that got the discussion started on the IWC side. Well, Roman's one cell phone was destroyed, and his other cell phone is for The Rock. Did you see that discussion?
No, I didn't. I try to stay away from the brain damaged discussions that take place on social media. But I just mentioned that he could have a pipeline to The Rock, and you want to maximize the drama. What's the biggest possible name you could trot out there as a surprise? It ain't CM Punk. It's The Rock.
If they do that, then the wheels are in motion for Rock and Roman at WrestleMania, because I'm assuming something would happen there to kind of give the win to Solo's bloodline, because I would see The Rock turning on Roman.
Yes, I think that's a very distinct possibility, given the fact that Roman went out there on night 2 and lost. And,
yes.
And not only that,
and then teamed with Cody.
And then team with Cody. That's when Rock came out. So yeah. And then you can get the wheels in motion for Vegas, Rock and Roman, and then Cody can wrestle Cena, or he can wrestle Orton, or whoever it's going to be. There's a lot of possibilities here. It's exciting to think about, how the story is going to play out. They've set it up nicely as far as the WrestleMania direction. It can go a number of different ways. But I think I would not tell people in advance of Survivor Series who the fifth man is going to be. You wanted to have 5-on-5? All right, cool. If you're going to do it right. You got to wait until the very last second. People aren't going to not tune in because, you didn't tell us who the fifth man's going to be. Like, of course they're going to tune in. They're going to be waiting to find out who the fifth man is. The only thing is with that, if you wait until like the middle of the match, it's almost like the Money in the Bank thing, where people are just sort of waiting, It's like, are they even paying attention to the match?
Yeah.
Or are they just waiting for someone to come out? That's the only thing. But, in this case, I think it works.
If it does end up being CM Punk, a lot of people were still claiming that, it could still be Seth Rollins. I mean, he could be the one that, joins them in the end. Like you said, with Paul Heyman introducing Seth Rollins, that wouldn't make any sense, because like you said, it would be him being a complete geek. After saying, I'm not standing next to Roman Reigns. That's something I'm not going to do, nor would I ever do that. So it's not Seth Rollins. A lot of people were like, he could be the fifth man and then be taken out during the show or before the match, actually. I'm like, why would you do that? You just might as well not even include him in the discussion, because why would he say that and then he would say yes, and then you would just take him out of the match? You just leave him out of the match altogether. A lot of people were coming up with some weird scenarios about Rollins getting in the match, but if it's Punk, obviously this leads to discourse between Punk and Seth Rollins, and that leads to that WrestleMania match, because a lot of people were, if it's Punk, and I said it on my show last night, if it's Punk, I could see Rollins having a problem with that, because it makes Seth Rollins look tiny compared to CM Punk. CM Punk is willing to do business with Roman, willing to do business with Paul Heyman after all the tumultuous history that they've had. And Rollins, he is the one that usually coins as Monday Night Rollins. It wouldn't be Monday Night Rollins anymore because CM Punk came over from all of the negativity, quote unquote, that he started in AEW to come here and mend the bridges and be the better man, and Rollins doesn't believe it. There's a great story there if it ends up being CM Punk. So do you see this being a bridge to Rollins and Punk going into WrestleMania?
I mean, I guess it could be, but yeah. I mean, if Punk is the guy, if it ends up being Punk, then yes, they could always use this as a further spark for a match between the two at WrestleMania. I've also, been thinking about, you have Gunther and Damian Priest on that show for the World Heavyweight Championship, and are we looking at this the wrong way? Are we in for a situation where Gunther beats Priest, and then we hear the music, and Punk comes out at the end of that match, and we get that tease of, oh, Punk is going to be next in line to wrestle Gunther. Might that be the direction? And not that he's going to necessarily win the championship, although I guess he could, but then you could do Punk and Rollins for the title at WrestleMania. I don't think that's not what I would do. But could that be the case? Are we headed for Punk coming out to tease that he is next in line? Because remember what he said after he beat McIntyre? He goes, we're done now.
Yeah.
Right? Done with him. And he mentioned Gunther. He mentioned, we know he wants to go after the World Heavyweight Championship. So maybe we're just looking at this also completely wrong. And the direction at Survivor Series for Punk is actually coming out and maybe confronting the champion. And it doesn't have anything to do with this, war game scenario. That's also possible.
It's also possible. I agree. I think if that's the case, then I think he kind of really opens it up to being The Rock as the fifth man in the main event.
Yeah, but again, you kind of understand where Seth Rollins is coming from here, not only because of his own personal history with Roman Reigns, but this Roman Reigns character, since he's come back, is the same person he was the last time when we saw him as champion.
Nothing has changed.
Absolutely nothing. He's a complete power-hungry, stubborn, bullheaded asshole. And why would anybody want to team with him? Look at the destruction that he wrought on this company for 4 years when he came back in 2020. And he had that iron grip on the championship. And all the people that he screwed and fucked over. Nobody in that company, if we're being outside of maybe his family, should want to have anything to do with him. Everybody should say no. And everybody so far has said no, right? We saw Sammy go to LA Knight. Jimmy Uso, remember last week, he went over to Braun Breaker. Hey, I want to talk to you. Apparently, nobody wants to team with Roman Reigns. That's the way it should be. That's why I think you go into the Survivor Series, nobody's willing to take the spot. And it's all because of Roman. They don't want to have anything to do with the guy. That's why it may end up coming down to The Rock. Because it may just come right down to family because nobody else wants to touch this guy.
Yeah, listen, either way that they go, I think those are two great ways. I think those are the two ways that should really be discussed if they're talking about this creatively. Rock and CM Punk make, to me, obviously Rock makes the most sense. Punk, he would squeeze in there, and you can make some sense out of him being there with the Paul Heyman tie, and obviously Bronson Reed posted today on social media after Punk was interviewed by Peter Rosenberg. Punk mentioned that he would like to get in the ring with Bronson Reed, so there could have been a little foreshadowing there with Bronson Reed tweeting him out today. But I like these two directions. But what I said last night on my Raw post show is that Punk gives the edge to the OG Bloodline. He then goes and challenges Gunther at either Saturday night's main event or the Raw on Netflix on January 6th. Punk screws him out of the title, because you're not taking the title off of Gunther during Royal Rumble WrestleMania season. And then we get to the Royal Rumble, and I was thinking about this today. I didn't say this last night on my show. One of the greatest Rumble eliminations is in 1997 with Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Behind the referee's back, you got Vader and fucking, who was it? Vader and Mankind fighting on the outside, and nobody knew what the fuck was going on in the ring.
No, it was, I think it was Mankind. Was it Mankind and Funk?
Terry Funk? Okay, one or the other. Yeah. There was a scuffle on the outside. Punk loves to kind of pay homage to Bret the Hitman Hart. I would love to see them pay an homage to that, where you got Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman in the Rumble this year, and they tumble over the top rope, and they both eliminate each other, and Rollins is in the ring, and the referees aren't looking, and then one of the Punk is in the ring, rather, and Rollins comes in. He gets eliminated. He comes in and throws out CM Punk a la the same way that Bret and Austin had their situation in 1997. I would love to see that be played out. And then you can build towards Obviously, a non-title match for them being at WrestleMania between Punk and Rollins. That's the way I see it playing out. I know I'm fantasy booking there, but I would love to see the tension kind of get elevated after what we saw with McIntyre and Punk. I would like to see them kind of duplicate that with Rollins and Punk. I think it would even be hotter.
We saw glimpses of that earlier this year. I mean, that was going to be the WrestleMania match this year, and we only got a taste of it. But you saw those promos, and to me, that's when Seth Rollins is at his best. And we saw that last night. He's not backstage talking to the Bloodline acting like a clown. He's not wearing his giant clown boots, and he's not dancing around, and he's not cackling like an idiot. You know, when he gets serious, that is when, you know, in these promo segments, I feel like he's at his best. And Punk has a way of bringing that out of him, and I think just bringing that out of people in general, because there are people in that company who don't like him legitimately, and I think that makes for great TV. Same thing with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens doesn't like CM Punk. They had one segment, I think, backstage on SmackDown, and you could feel the tension even in that segment. That absolutely has to be a program at some point down the road. So, yeah, I think that Punk and Rollins is probably the WrestleMania direction, and I'd like to see it because that's when I think Rollins is at his best. And Rollins made a comment also recently. I don't know where the interview was, but he said that there's a real lack of great heels right now. And I don't know if he was specifically talking about Raw or just WWE in general, but it was interesting that he made that comment. And I do wonder, in a Rollins and Punk feud, if one has to be heel and one has to be more of the fan favorite, I look to Rollins to play the role of heel in that case. I think if you're going to assign one role or the other to both of them, I think Rollins goes heel for that. And maybe because if they did that finish that you just pitched for the Rumble, right, that would probably make him a heel.
Yeah. I mean, I was only fantasy booking with that, but I would love to see something like that play out to add some drama.
Yeah, but I'm just saying though, like if his hatred of Punk just overwhelms him, that he starts doing stuff like that, it's going to turn him heel.
Do you think he needs to be heel after we've seen many years of this sing-along babyface Seth Rollins, or would you rather CM Punk be the heel? I mean, I would prefer a Punk character be heel, but I could absolutely see Seth Rollins kind of being rejuvenated playing the heel role here.
Punk is going to be a heel at some point. For this, I'd rather Rollins be the heel because I'm kind of tired with Rollins in this role, honestly, with him coming out and then doing the humming and the singing, and again he comes out looking like a clown on most weeks. I'm over it.
You don't like the glittery outfits?
No, him coming out there and pretend, I don't know who he's pretending to be, Elton John or who the hell he's dancing around and everything else, and put a piano in the ring. He can sit there and play the piano and put the fucking shades on. I don't know, but I never got this gimmick. What is he supposed to be?
He's nothing.
Right. He comes out, I am a visionary. I am a revolutionary. The fuck does that mean? What does that mean? You're a revolutionary. In what way are you a revolutionary?
I'm surprised. Now that you mention it, I'm surprised that they actually kept the freaking in his name, because I know that was a Vince McMahon thing. I don't know why they still call him that. It sounds fucking ridiculous every time I hear it.
It was just, they did it for so long, it just kind of became part of him. And maybe he wanted to keep it. Maybe it was his call to keep it. Triple H said, you want to keep it or you want to junk it? He probably had merch that was already made with it. He goes, let's just keep it. So, I mean, whatever. I don't call him Seth freaking Rollins because I just think, if anything, I call him Seth Franklin Rollins, because remember that one city they were doing a live event and in the advertising it actually listed him as Seth Franklin Rollins, and I'm like, okay, that's fucking hilarious.
So wait, you mean to tell me, spoiler alert, you mean to tell me when you take your notes, you don't say and reiterate to your audience when you're live, Seth freaking Rollins with a hurricanrana off the top rope? You don't.
No, never. Not even one time do I say it. Never. It is a freaking free zone on my streams. So yeah, I don't even know what this version of Seth Rollins is supposed to be. I've never understood it. It kind of grates on my nerves. I know people are into the music and everything. I'm not saying that they don't like the guy. But if you're asking me, who would I prefer? Go heel in this feud? I'd rather it be Rollins.
All right.
I know he portrays himself as the savior, like in that last promo with Punk when they were in the ring, like he's protecting, almost like Hangman Page. Like, I have to protect WWE from you. And he kind of took on that role. And maybe he'll do that again as like he's the savior of Raw against this guy, but fuck it. Make Rollins the heel.
So I think what we surmise here is that it's either going to be Punk or it's either going to be Dwayne. And again, I'm going to ask you, if you had the pen, the power of the almighty pen, who are you booking as the fifth man for Survivor Series on OG Bloodline?
CM Punk.
Okay. So am I. CM Punk is the fifth man. That is our prediction. That is the topic of the week in the IWC. Who's the fifth man? We're telling you it's going to be CM Punk. If we're right, not surprised. If we're wrong, we'll come on here the next week and say, hey, man, we fucked up. It is what it is. Moving on with the Monday Night Raw stuff. We got some news and notes from Monday Night Raw and the debut on Netflix. We got a new logo. I'm not going to show you because I did not queue it up, but it looks very Netflixy. If you guys saw it, did you see the new logo?
I did. It's
it looks like a B instead of an R, but you know.
Yeah. So we have now we have on Friday nights we have SmackDown, and on Monday nights we have Monday Night Ball. So that's what we have now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they got a new logo. Hopefully they do revise it a little bit because it does look a little not R-like, that first letter in Raw, but we'll see. The reaction to the Netflix streaming issues was a topic of discussion in WWE. Fightful Select immediately inquired about the lagging issues and the server issues with the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight, which was riddled with buffering and connectivity issues, which a lot of people let Netflix know on social media. Believe it or not, I was not one of them. I did not suffer one issue whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I had it open on my phone because I was doing a watch along like in the middle of my stream. So I had it open on my phone in the Netflix app, and then I had a tab on the computer open, and in neither one was it freezing or lagging. But apparently everybody else, it was just nonstop complaints, and people were getting buffering and 99%, and then it wasn't doing anything. So I guess I was one of the lucky ones, but apparently we were one of the few.
There you go, man. It pays to have Verizon Fios. That's all I'll say.
It's the shit, man.
So, yes, a lot of people complained about the connectivity issues. Fightful Select immediately inquired with those in WWE. They said that they have been assured that these issues would be kept to a minimum. One higher-up said that if they were ever going to do the type of traffic Mike Tyson and Jake Paul were doing, that would be a good problem to have. Netflix's Love is Blind, which I don't think I should be admitting this in front of 2,300 people, but I do watch Love is Blind. I think that's a fun show to watch.
I wish that you didn't admit that just now.
Why? It's a fun show.
I think a little less of you now. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, my goodness.
Just a little bit. But then again, I'm surprised that you're a big fan of that show. But when I brought up the fact that you had MILF Manor, you had no idea what I was talking about. You didn't even know that was a real show.
Maybe we should start asking questions about you, that you know what MILF Manor is.
Well, I mean, look, hey.
We have our quirks. We have our quirks, okay?
I need to know my pop culture. I didn't say I watched it. I saw the trailer for it. I was intrigued, and I wanted to see what it was about because it's, the name kind of grabs you, and there you go. But I can't say I know anything about the characters on the show or anything like that.
All right. Love is Blind. That's Netflix. Yeah. They had a live special, and that was just a fucking nightmare for Netflix. So that had significant issues. But like the report said here, Jason, what was it? You mentioned over 100 million people tuned into this thing. I think Netflix, when I read the report, it was a couple of days ago, they said 65 million households or so. Mm-hmm. I mean, WWE is not going to be doing anywhere near that, so I don't think we're going to have a problem when it comes to that. But obviously, it's a concern. This is probably the biggest Monday Night Raw in all 30 years of the show, so you don't want problems like that to happen. But I don't think they're going to be as widespread as it was during this boxing match.
I hope not. You would think not because the level of traffic is going to be minuscule compared to this fight. But this is all new to Netflix. Netflix does not have an extensive history of live streaming or streaming sporting events. That's still a relatively new thing. They've done a few. This was the first live boxing event that they ever did. And the big test for them is going to be on Christmas Day. Because Christmas Day, they are streaming 2 NFL games. And that is what... a week, 2 weeks, I guess, before Raw debuts on Netflix. So, and I would expect that probably will also have more traffic than Raw will have, but it won't be as much as the Tyson fight. So keep an eye on that. That'll be a real test for them. If they have issues on Christmas Day, that's a bad omen. But I think, by and large, it should be fine. Maybe there's going to be some kinks the first week or two. I don't think it's going to go 100% perfect. But those widespread issues that we were seeing on Friday night, it's not going to happen with WWE.
I hope not. I don't want any problems. And I know a lot of people were joking about so-and-so making an entrance, and they had grainy images on social media. People had fun with it. You know, it is
that good old 360p. I can't wait.
Unbelievable.
Remember on AOL back in the day when you would download a photo and you had to wait? It went line by line, pixel by pixel.
Yes.
To load the image. Yeah.
Yes.
That'll be the first Raw on Netflix.
Oh, man. I hope not. They're going to be debuting Raw on Netflix in the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles on January 6th. Tickets go on sale Friday at 1 p.m. Show's going to be a sellout, plus some. Company also confirmed that rap star Travis Scott will be at the event. WrestleVotes Radio first reported that it was the possible place, the Intuit Dome was the possible place for the show, and that is exactly what it ended up being. And Travis Scott not only will be there, but he is going to be the new musical artist that provides backing music to the new Raw theme. So that is going to be a brand new era of Monday Night Raw on January 6th.
So he's writing a song specifically for the show, I think, right? It's not an existing song of his.
I am not sure. I would. I think that would be. I think that would be pretty cool if he wrote a new song specifically for Monday Night Raw. Yeah.
That was my impression. But I wasn't 100% sure about that. I think it might be something new that he's putting together.
Well, that's pretty cool then. I mean, he's popular, and WWE is just rebranding the entire show. I'm very excited, and I'm sure Jason and I are going to be very happy with the numbers that we do on Monday, because that's going to be the biggest Raw ever. So very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll see how long it goes, because that first show, if they've got a lot on their on their plans for that first show, it could be a 3.5-hour show. They pretty much can make it as long as they want it to be. Whatever,
man. If it, I hope whatever they want to make it, I'll take it. These Monday Night Raws lately, well, the tape shows that we got, I feel like death watching these shows. It's so boring.
Going to be more of them coming up.
I know. Everybody's got to get off for the holidays. Happy holidays to everybody.
Not just the holidays, but they announced a very busy, very ambitious international schedule for March next year. They're going to be doing they're going to all kinds of cities and countries in Europe, really all over Europe. And when they do that, a lot of those shows are going to be, live to tape. So there's going to be a lot of tape shows coming up before WrestleMania next year.
Well, hopefully the rumor with Netflix wanting to go live for those shows, if they iron out the kinks with their platform, hopefully that comes to fruition, because I would love to see a live show at 3 o'clock in the afternoon as opposed to 8, taped. So hopefully that is the case.
Well, there are some people, they're going to be at work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Monday.
Pardon me, man, for all the 9 to 5ers out there. Sorry.
I'm just saying. I mean, you and I, we have the luxury of just, this is what we do here, but some people don't have that luxury. So,
I know.
They'll just have to watch us on their phones, from work, right? Take a break and just.
That's it.
Well, I was going to say, what's more important? What you're doing at work or watching us?
I would say watching us.
Absolutely.
At work.
Of course. Right. So you get paid, but you're watching us.
Yeah.
So it's the best of both worlds. Just don't get caught.
Don't worry. You need a note to go to the boss. I'll write it for you. Don't worry.
There you go.
Becky Lynch. She is making a return to Monday Night Raw. This is coming from PW Insider. She is on hiatus right now from the company. Sources within WWE have told PW Insider that Becky Lynch is expected back for the Raw premiere on Netflix. That would mean that both WWE and Becky Lynch are close to or have already made a deal to a new agreement. Lynch has been off TV for months after her WWE deal expired earlier this year. For what it's worth, Lynch's first public appearance since her WWE exit was set this past weekend in Los Angeles, where she did talk about her new memoir. The promotional material for the book went out, and the last line in the statement was, and maybe Becky Lynch will give us a glimpse as to what the man has in store for us next. So that is pretty... I think everybody's pretty confident that that's going to happen. And, man, it's going to be a great coup for the women's division to get, hopefully, Becky back, Asuka back. Rhea Ripley's got the Cody Rhodes dashing mask on now. So Monday Night Raw's women's division is going to be a lot stronger come January than they are now looking in November.
Yeah, on the SmackDown side, Charlotte Flair should be back imminently. And, well, I mean, she's a big name. So that's going to be a big name for them to get back. Jordynne Grace, in my opinion, not a doubt in my mind. She's WWE bound early next year, and I think she's bound for the main roster because I would just rocket her to Raw or SmackDown. So wherever you drop her, that's only going to enhance the division even more. And then think of all the women they have that are ready right now in the pipeline in NXT. You don't even have to wait for the draft. You have both these shows are going 3 hours, which is the belief, starting in January, Raw and SmackDown. They're going to need a few new faces. So you may see a couple of NXT call-ups to the women's division on either show.
Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade. I love to see Sol Ruca on the main roster. Just a couple.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Becky Lynch coming back to Monday night. She is expected back on January 6th. Couple of other news and notes here. Bobby Roode was at the WWE headquarters last week. Roode is getting a ton of praise in his role since stepping up and working on a number of top WWE main events. This is glorious Bobby Roode, by the way. Filling the role of Michael Hayes. Hayes has been taking time off to deal with a personal issue, which has been said to be medical in nature. And PW Insider states that Hayes is expected back sooner rather than later. So good on that. I know he's a big proponent in those Roman Reigns Bloodline segments, and he produces Roman's matches most of the time when they're on PLE. But good for Bobby Roode. I wish we got a proper, glorious Bobby Roode run, but Vince ruined that for all of us, and now he is... he sits in WWE with a new lease on life, and he's finding a new niche for himself. So good for him, man. I do miss him, but as long as he's still there and comfortable and happy, that's all that matters to me. And then we'll get Michael Hayes back, which is a win-win situation. Street Profits. This is what we did not talk about come Friday when we talked about the SmackDown discussion earlier in the show. Street Profits, there was a lot of news about the Profits either leaving the WWE or splitting the Profits up and giving Montez his own singles run, which a lot of people are clamoring for. This was also addressed by PW Insider, and Mike Johnson says that the team are currently locked into deals with WWE, and it's likely the statements were to garner attention that they made previously, garner attention more than anything else. PW Insider is told that Montez has been working on some outside projects as of late, and right now, there is no belief internally that he or Angelo Dawkins are leaving the company. I don't think anybody really thought that they were leaving the company to go to AEW for what? I don't know.
Yeah, no.
But Montez, I know a lot of people want him to be a singles. I know you talked about that extensively for him being a single star. What that would mean for the Street Profits and Angelo Dawkins, I don't know. But what we got on Friday night, Jason, is a little bit of a tweak to their character potentially. I know they're showing a little bit more of an aggressive side, so they may be going kind of tweener potentially, or maybe full-blown heel. I don't really know the direction that they're going in, but it's absolutely needed for both of those guys.
Yeah, one of the things that Montez Ford has been doing, I mean, he's signed up to Paradigm, which is, I think, under the Endeavor umbrella, and a lot of wrestlers in WWE now have representation through there. So I don't know if he's filmed something already, but I think he is tabbed for a movie. So he's doing other stuff. But he's the one who went to the Daily Mail a couple of weeks ago and was venting frustration with his position in the company. And you don't know how much of that is worked. You don't know how much of that is his real feelings. But I just feel like without getting in his head, how can he not be frustrated, right? So he's just kind of been spinning his wheels now, him and Dawkins, for so long. And now we're seeing a harder edge to them. Lately, the last few weeks on SmackDown, it's interesting. One of my favorite periods in WWE was the end of 96 into the beginning of 97. Like you mentioned the Rumble from 97 a few minutes ago. Everybody was angry, right? You had these core of like 5 guys. You had like Brett, Shawn, Austin, Vader, and like Undertaker and Sid. 5 or 6 guys. And it was all about the championship, but they were all pissed off at each other. And I kind of got a little bit of that vibe, not exactly the same thing, obviously, but I got a little bit of that vibe from the tag team stuff on SmackDown, because you had Tommaso Ciampa come out and he's, interfering in the match, beating everybody up, and he's shoving Johnny Gargano down on his ass. And then you got the Street Profits when the Machine Guns went up to them after and said, look, we had nothing to do with this. And then Dawkins shoves Alex Shelley down on his ass. And Montez Ford, he didn't exactly restrain his partner. There is an aggression there. And it's all centered around the tag team titles, where Tommaso Ciampa is obsessed with getting those belts back. They never got their rematch after they got screwed out of them by the Bloodline. And he's pissed off that these guys came into the company and basically jumped the line and took their spot. The Street Profits are also pissed off because they haven't been tag team champions in over 4 years. And again, you have this new team that just came in and basically cut the line. Everybody's angry. And I just wish they had a couple more solid teams right now in the mix in that division, because I still think it's very shallow. But if you had one or two more teams, you'd have it's already kind of, it's getting interesting, but you would have a really interesting situation now, all built around those titles. So I'm all for the aggression that we saw from Ciampa and from the Street Profits. And it's quite the difference when you look at the Machine Guns, and it's like, they're just like a couple of white meat baby faces, like, oh, we're just happy to be here. Oh, you guys are great wrestlers and we're going to defend the titles again. They even had me sitting here going, man, just beat the shit out of these guys, And
yeah, we want to wrestle the best that the WWE has to offer, man.
We want to wrestle the best that we have here in this company. Like, fuck, put these guys in the ground, Like, I would have been fine with the Street Profits beating them, for the belts on Friday, and then the Machine Guns just have to, they have to struggle to get back into the hunt. But things are starting to heat up in that division. I just wish the division had a little more depth to it.
I've been saying this for the last few weeks on my end. You know what I would do? I don't know if there's going to be a supplemental draft, a trade of some sort, but I would absolutely move American Made. I know we discussed this as well. American Made over to SmackDown. Chad Gable over there on SmackDown, have him go after the U.S. title. It fits the whole group. It fits the name of the group. Go after LA Knight. Have that be the U.S. title match at WrestleMania. Have Gable win the United States Championship. The Creeds, move them over there. I know.
Gable winning a match? Well, are you feeling okay? Are you okay?
Listen, man, I'm trying out for the comedy show that's happening in the area next week. Yeah.
You and Sidra. You're giving Sidra a run for his money there with the comedy.
The Creeds maybe going into the tag team division. I think them versus DIY or the Profits or Machine Guns would be great. I think they need a new coat of paint for sure. Them on SmackDown would be great. I even said call up Fraxium. Call up Nathan Frazier and Axiom from NXT. If you want to call anybody up, fill that division. I don't know if that is going to happen or those are the steps WWE's going to take. I don't really know, but yeah, I agree with you. And you mentioned the feeling around those core top names in 1997. I got that same feeling when we watched that off the cuff promo with McIntyre, Punk, and Rollins in March, where McIntyre gave Punk that line. You don't do drugs and you don't drink, but you always find yourself to be in rehab for some reason. I felt that moment there. I felt that was the type of energy those three were given as well.
Which is still like the greatest line I think in a promo all year. Like I love that so much. And then of course it was Punk came back with the Vince McMahon crack, and McIntyre didn't know how to react to that. He didn't know what to say. So yeah, it's just we haven't had those types of vibes from promos in a very long time. So I think I look back fondly on that period, and that led into the Attitude Era. But I mean, what's going on right now with the tag stuff on SmackDown? It's finally starting to get real interesting there. So we'll see where that goes. As far as the Street Profits, heel turn would be fine with me, but it's not necessary. I do think that they have to win at some point. Like, I came into the SmackDown show on Friday feeling that way, and then when I saw the finish they did, I said, all right, well, at least they left it unresolved. They didn't just beat them again. How many more times can these two guys get beaten before they're just done for? Like, how many times are you going to beat the Street Profits until something changes? They either win or they snap or something happens. So I do wonder at the end of all this if they get the belts, because I see what they're doing with Ciampa. Ciampa now is unhinged. Now, I want to bring this up because I think I heard you say something about you are hoping, and maybe you're expecting that we're going to get Ciampa and Gargano, and they're going to split them, and it's going to be like Black and Gold all over again. They had that great feud in Black and Gold. And I look at this and I say, I don't think they're going to split up. I just think that he's going to bring Gargano down to his level. Not that they're going to split up. And why would you split them up? As if the tag team division doesn't already need more teams and have, a lack of depth. Are you really going to split up DIY right now?
Well, I mean, it is kind of silly to break them up, but
It's very silly to break them up. Yeah, you don't break them up right now. There's plenty of time to do Ciampa and Gargano next year if you want to. Breaking them up right now is the last thing I would do. And I don't think that's going to work out well for at least Gargano. Maybe Ciampa. Ciampa is somebody I could see maybe taking the U.S. title from LA Knight. I could see that because Ciampa's a great heel. Right now, it just feels like the wrong time to even think about doing that, which I think it sounded like you were either talking about that or considering it. I wouldn't do that. I think that would be the wrong move.
Yeah, I replied to Backup Hangman on Twitter in regards to something he said. I don't remember what he said. I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but congratulations to him, by the way. He's going to be on Fightful's Raw review on Monday with Sap, so good on him. He mentioned something about Ciampa and Gargano, and I'm like, nah, bro, we got to break them up. You know, let's do black and gold, Ciampa versus Gargano. And then he came back to me, and he made a good point. He's like, you know, why rehash something that's been done in black and gold? And then other people chimed in the same thread. A lot of people don't realize what that was and how great that was. Maybe Triple H wants to do that on the main roster. I was having fantasies maybe about Ciampa and Gargano being one-on-one at WrestleMania. Well, I mean...
Yeah, you could fantasize all you want to, though. But see, here's the thing you're missing when you say that. The reason it worked in NXT is because both men were established, right? I mean, They were over. They were two of the biggest stars in NXT. They are far from that on the main roster. So the best thing for them to do would be to remain together. And you could always split them up down the road, but these guys are nowhere near over at the level that they were in black and gold. And sometimes it's easy to forget about that. You got to put that context on there. So I know, you know, in your mind, you might fantasize about it. Oh, it was great there, and you can replicate it on the main roster. These are two guys. They're not in the same position that they were in. They were in a small pond, and now they're two small fish in a big pond. And I don't know if they'll get back to that level one day as individuals, but they're not there now. So you can't split them up. That's the wrong move to make. I would have Gargano come around and, you know, agree with Ciampa. And that doesn't mean they have to be heels. It could just, like the Street Profits, it could just be that maybe they're tweener. You know, maybe they just have a harder edge to them. But that's what I would do. I wouldn't split them up. I just think that would be stupid right now.
Well, I do hope for better tag team wrestling in WWE, or at least some more depth to the divisions, because I do think both of them are severely lacking. I'm looking for the War Raiders to take the titles of Judgment Day. I think we need a fresh reset on Monday night, some new teams, some new blood over there as well. I mean, I could talk till I'm blue in the face about merging the divisions and one titles. I know Jason said last week that would never happen because that would be them admitting defeats. So I would like to see them rectify that. And if we start to build some solid teams with issues and tension, I think that's a great start, because we haven't even been getting that. Not even in AEW, where tag team wrestling was flourishing for so many years. We don't even get that over there. We weren't getting that in WWE, so hopefully that is the catalyst for change. At least that's a good starting point.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they're headed in the right direction finally with this, and it's starting to get interesting, because they got to do something. Again, the Street Profits and DIY, they just didn't have anything going. So at least now they have a vision, at least it seems like, for where they're going with these teams.
One video game news and note here. Work is well underway for WWE 2K25, including motion capture work. Don't expect anything to be announced as far as the official release for the game until at least first quarter next year. I know they have usually March is the time frame for when we start to see a potential release going into WrestleMania season. So that is underway. I don't really know what the difference between this year's game and next year's game is going to be. They all fucking feel the same to me. So I stopped buying personally 3 years ago. Haven't even looked back. So I know you guys still enjoy that, but I gave up on it. And even AEW's game, I played it for 5 minutes. I spent $60 on it. 5 minutes I played it. I'm like, that's it for me. I've seen enough. So,
you know, well, one thing I didn't do, because I know it was added in later on, I guess maybe a DLC, was the Stadium Stampede. Did you play the Stadium Stampede mode?
Didn't even download it, but it did look cool. It's like a big multiplayer universe type of deal with like 100 players.
Yeah, right. I mean, now they probably have 2 players in the lobbies at this point.
Well, the only people playing it are the Dork Order and Adam Cole.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
and Aubrey Edwards, one or the other.
It was like, I forgot how many months ago it was, but there was somebody who said, like, on the servers there were like 9 people or something. And it was like, really? So now I don't even know how many people would be playing the game at all. But Yeah, I didn't get the chance to play Stadium Stampede mode. It did look interesting, but I just didn't think that game had a lot of replay value at all. I do my Sound Off Gamer videos, and I think I did, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3. You know what I spent most of my time doing in this fucking game? I would you would go to different cities, and when you get there, you have different activities that you can do, right? So you go to the gym and you work out. So I'm like, okay. So I'm at the gym and I'm like lifting weights, and I get a phone call from Tony Khan, and I'm like, all right. And Tony Khan tells you, invites you to come wrestle for AEW. Then you fly to the next city, and now you're in what looks like a Cracker Barrel. You're sitting in a restaurant and you're eating food, and you could choose, like, what do you want to do? What do you want to eat? Like, what do I want to eat? I want to wrestle, but not like you could have whatever the options were, steak or. And then those noises, like as you're eating, it's like those disgusting. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, what is this?
I wonder who gave the sound effects for that.
Yeah. Then they would have something where like you could have your picture taken with like another wrestler at like different, I don't know, like monuments or different places all over the country. I don't know what they were going for there, but it was not.
Yeah, you ever have your character work out in the gym and then you fucking pull a muscle lifting weights and then you can't wrestle for the next match? You're like at 50% health.
Is that a legitimate thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't think so. I don't think I got hurt working out, but wow, that sounds riveting.
Sounds unbelievable. No wonder there's 3 people playing it.
I'm sorry I missed that. Yeah.
If Evil Uno ever gets this, we apologize, bro. The game is terrible. Whatever.
Well, they can improve. Weren't they supposedly switching to a different?
Supposedly, I don't know what the budget was for this game. Does anybody know what the budget was for this game? It took forever to get out there, and then they released it early. But I can't. Maybe with the new TV deal, maybe they put some of that and allocate some of that money towards a new game and a new developer. I don't know.
There were reports that, and I don't know how legitimate they were, but there were reports that Tony Khan may have spent $10 million or upwards of something like that on the game. I don't know if that's in terms of development and marketing or I don't know if he made a profit off the game. I can't imagine he did, but hopefully the next go around it'll be a different story for them.
Spending $10 million on a video game should be the least of his concerns. We need some creative help, but
well, hold on before you move on. I don't know what he spent, but I will say, whatever he spent to get, and I know you're probably not a huge Guns N' Roses fan, but I did see the video package on Collision. What was it, like 10 minutes long? Like, it was a long video package.
I didn't even realize that song was like 8 or 9 minutes long. It's that long?
Yeah. It's a long song, and it basically just recapped the history for all the key matches on Full Gear, and that one video probably got me more hyped up than anything I've seen in the actual build on TV. So kudos to whoever put that video together. I know, Mike Mansouri is the one who leads their production there, but that's the sort of thing I'd like to see them do more of. And Tony Khan is very good about using licensed music, certainly more than WWE does. I wish they would do more of that too.
And rock and roll music at that.
It was very effective.
Yeah.
I thought it was very well done.
I guess what's the need for weekly TV when we can get 9-minute video packages with November Rain as the backing musical track?
Well, I mean, I'm sure if they got Alter Bridge, you'd be singing a different tune. You'd be bouncing off the walls with excitement if they got Alter Bridge.
I would. They got some 9-minute bangers, so maybe somewhere down the pipeline. But as far as the $10 million video game, I wish you would spend some of that money on some creative help. But the one name that always comes up in the creative discussions for Tony Khan, he should go out and get this guy. He actually visited the Performance Center this week. Fightful Select reports that former TNA president Scott D'Amore was at the Performance Center on November 8th. According to the report, he was just visiting and was given a tour of the facility. I made a joke of this, Jason, last week when I made a video on this. Yeah, Scott D'Amore was just randomly driving by the Performance Center. He was on his way to Publix doing his fucking weekly food shopping, and he's like, you know what I need? Let me stop and get myself a latte and stop in at the Performance Center. Man, I want to say hello to everybody. Who did you vote for, man? Was it Trump? Was it Harris? What did you think of the election?
He saw the logo outside. Oh shit, WWE! I should go in and say hello. I have some friends who work there. They had some informal discussions of what we don't know Yeah, I could only imagine what those discussions would have been about.
Gee.
I think it's pretty clear what they were about.
He was given a tour of the facility. Like Jason said, informal conversations were had. No further details were given to Fightful. Following his exit from TNA this year, Scott D'Amore revived Maple Leaf Pro and held its first 2 shows featuring talent from AEW, New Japan, TNA, and ROH. D'Amore is planning on returning with MLP for 2020. What are you laughing at?
I think it was Tony McMahon in the chat or whoever it was who said that the instead of November Rain, the theme song for Full Gear should be Red Skies.
Yeah, it should be. That's a great fucking song. You think he'd make a video package with that song behind it? I'd love to see it. Maybe one of you guys should do it.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be using that song.
No, they wouldn't dare. It's copyright infringement over here. But anyway, D'Amore is planning on returning with Maple Leaf Pro in 2025. He was still part of TNA when they began the working relationship with WWE. Obviously, that relationship is still ongoing with NXT, and he was actually the one to facilitate, along with Triple H, to get Jordan Grace in the Royal Rumble earlier in the year. Nobody knows what this is going to amount to, Jason, but I know his name is always brought up in conversations. Tony needs to hire Scott D'Amore and this and that. Tony is never going to hire Scott D'Amore because Scott D'Amore would change the product for the better, and it would hurt Tony Khan's feelings, and Tony's never going to allow that to happen. That's just the fact of the matter. But Maple Leaf Pro, I don't see them getting a TV deal or a weekly TV show. You know, I think a lot of people are looking at this potentially as him coming on in and getting some sort of creative role, maybe an advisor, a producer of sorts. Nobody knows what this is going to be, but all I said, and this is, I guess, what we should really keep it at, if Scott D'Amore is available and is able to work and be signed by WWE, you go out and bring Scott D'Amore into the company. I don't know if that's going to happen, but if it is, you make it happen.
I mean, I don't know that I look at this as anything where, you know, they're going to bring him in an official role. Again, he's got his own promotion that he just started, and I don't know how many more shows they're going to do as far as like how frequently they're going to be running shows. I looked at it as more, you know, these informal discussions probably had to do with them potentially working together in some way. Maybe it ties into who knows, maybe it ties into the WWE ID program in some way that they just launched. But, you know, I said that early 2025, would I be shocked if we started seeing some NXT talents pop up on a Maple Leaf Pro show here and there? No. But that's the sort of thing that I think maybe the conversations could have been about. I just didn't look at it as, oh, Scott's going to come work for them. It just seems to me like he doesn't have to. You know, he's got his own thing going on right now, and what can we do to facilitate a working relationship maybe between the two sides? We obviously have one between NXT and TNA. We have one between NXT and Pro Wrestling Noah. Shawn Michaels tweeted last week about a Noah star that I guess he's kind of like on excursion now in NXT. I don't have his name in front of me. And even Rossi Ogawa's promotion, Marigold. So they have these working relationships and partnerships now with different promotions. And I think Maple Leaf Pro could be the next one.
Man, that's going to anger Tony Khan if he sees NXT talent on a Maple Leaf Pro show.
I don't think it's going to anger him. No, why would it anger him?
I don't know. He had his crew over there, too. A lot of AEW talent over there.
All right, well, so what? There's no rule that says that he can't continue to work with Scott D'Amore. I mean, he had Morrow run down the Dynamite card that week.
He did?
Yeah.
He sounded better than that caliber doing it.
He did. But don't let him hear you say that. Pile driver! Sorry.
Now you're going to have me fucking meticulously paying attention to Excalibur's commentary tomorrow.
I lapse into it. It's just like an involuntary thing. I'm sorry.
Oh, man. We will see. But, yeah, Scott D'Amore, informal visits with the WWE at the Performance Center. If it happens to amount to anything, we'll let you know. Shifting gears over to someone who used to work for Scott D'Amore, and that is Josh Alexander. He announced that he's no longer taking independent wrestling dates. Josh Alexander announced the following, and I quote, "Regardless of what may or may not be in my future, after talking with my family, I've made the decision to stop taking indie dates. I've loved my time on the independents the past 20 years. I've done amazing things, worked with amazing people, and got to travel the world performing in front of amazing fans. That being said, I'm tired of the hustle. It's don't let Triple H hear that. It's time for the next crop to step up and fill whatever void I may leave behind in the Canadian scene. Please support the indies, support the wrestlers grinding. They aren't fueled by money, only a rabid passion or addiction and love for pro wrestling. All I ever did was follow my heart, driving cars into the ground, barely able to afford to eat or pay my bills just so I could get to a show and wrestle every weekend was tough, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I've met and made lifelong friends, found my wife along the way, and built a life and a family to support me for whatever lies ahead. Thank you to every promotion that booked me. And he says, it's not goodbye, it's just see you later. So, obviously, Jason, this got the discussion, and the one thing people are zoning in on is I've decided to stop taking indie dates, which everybody is now kind of correlating to, well, he ain't going to AEW because AEW allows some of their talent to take indie dates when they're not specifically working AEW Dynamite or AEW Collision. Now, the rumor is people tend to think he's going to NXT. What do you make of Josh Alexander, and where do you see him ending up? I could absolutely see him ending up in NXT, and I can absolutely see him being paired up with Ethan Page on Tuesday nights.
I think that people are reading a little too much into that it must mean he's going to WWE. I mean, he said that he is tired of the grind. It could just be a case where he just doesn't want to work indies anymore. And he would rather sign with a promotion, get a contract with somebody. That could easily be AEW. And I don't think he'll be, I don't know when his TNA deal is up. I don't think it's until early next year.
January, I believe.
Yeah, because he's somebody who would have been a great fit for this Continental Classic they have coming up. But yeah, I think his deal isn't up until January or February. He was looking to explore free agency at the beginning of this year, and they rolled him over. He had another year that they could roll over, and they rolled him over, or the option year. So he's going to be on his way out, in my opinion. And yeah, I could see him in NXT. You could always do a North reunion with him and Ethan Page, or you could feud them. I think NXT would be the likely landing spot if he goes to WWE as opposed to right to the main roster. But don't discount the possibility that he could end up in AEW. It could just be him making that statement. He just doesn't want the grind anymore. He could go to AEW and not work indies, right? I mean, you go to AEW and get a nice big fat contract. If you don't want to work indies, you don't have to work indies. So don't read too much into that. Just because he doesn't want to work indies, that must mean he's WWE bound.
You are correct. I just don't think that AEW needs Josh Alexander, but as long as everybody is getting paid, go get your money. But I think a lot of people do make a lot out of these little reports. I would like to see him on NXT. I think that would be great. I know AEW's got more talent than they can really handle right now. We'll get to the Mike Speedball Bailey story that was floating around this week, but I'd like to see them WWE get Josh Alexander. I think that would be a good pickup for them. And the North, I mean, Ethan Page is fine on his own. I mean, I don't really get all the hype. I think he's very commendable. I don't really find him to be the most entertaining. He's a great promo, but I think both Josh Alexander is an amazing wrestler. But I think Ethan Page and Josh Alexander to start off and get them back together, man, that was a fantastic tag team. I think that could be a really great thing for WWE.
You know what, though? I mean, to the discussion that we were just having about that SmackDown tag team division, how about getting them up there as a tag team and adding them to SmackDown?
Absolutely. That's 100% what I would do.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right there. That's what I would do.
So when you guys want to know, well, why JD doesn't want Josh Alexander in AEW, that's the reason why. I think he's more needed on the WWE side of things, and that would be a fantastic move. We're going to shift gears over to AEW. There's a few top stories here this week in regards to AEW, and we'll start off with this one, speaking about free agents. Mike Speedball Bailey is no longer with TNA. He is contractually finished with TNA.
It's kind of weird hearing you say that. Usually it's Speedball Mike Bailey, and then you called him Mike Speedball Bailey. I don't usually hear. That's like the people who call Randy Savage Randy Macho Man Savage as opposed to Macho.
Is there a wrong way? I mean, is that incorrect?
I mean, there's no. It's not incorrect. You're the only person I've heard refer to him that way.
Seth freaking Rollins.
I don't refer to him. That's the difference between me and you.
Mike Speedball Bailey. Whichever. You guys know who he is. Big update on him. He's contractually finished with TNA, and supposedly Fightful Select is reporting that he is headed to AEW. Now, Bailey is still featured on some TNA flyers, but they have not heard of any plans for him to be on future shows. Multiple people say he was saying goodbyes in Detroit during TNA's last set of TV tapings and gave a heartfelt thank you to the locker room. He will be in Winston-Salem at WrestleCade, where TNA has their next pay-per-view. Bailey is well-liked amongst everybody in wrestling and will obviously be courted by WWE and AEW, but according to the report, Fightful updated it, saying that he is expected to be AEW bound. Now, I read a report today. I don't know if you guys heard it or Jason, if you read it. PW Insider said that Mike Bailey could potentially be in the Continental Classic, where Sapp said that his contract is not up until the end of the year and that he will not be able to do anything with AEW until at least the end of the year going into January. I don't know which report is correct, but if Mike Johnson's report is correct, Mike Bailey is obviously, he should be without question in the Continental Classic. I don't know how likely that is. I don't know what you heard. Do you know anything about that?
Well, I mean, Mike Johnson today is the one who reported that he is not going to be in the Continental Classic. So, yeah, no, he may come in, but he is not planned to be a part of the Continental Classic. And he would have been a great fit for it, but according to him, and I trust him more than most, he will not be in there.
Okay, well, that answers that question. But he is headed to AEW, supposedly, according to Sapp, which obviously, I listen, I'm not going to sit here and claim that Mike Bailey is anything but a fucking unbelievable pro wrestler. Jason and I called a few of his matches in House of Glory. We know exactly how great he works up close and personal. We've seen him work. Obviously, I seen the Takeshita match with him and Takeshita at Maple Leaf Pro, which was fucking unbelievable. We know how great he is. You're not going to leave someone like that on the free agent market. I get it. But with all the talent that AEW has, and you constantly keep bringing people in, my problem is you don't even find time for the people that exist on your roster now, and you're going to bring in Speedball, and you're going to try and find him TV time. This is why I made the comment, which caused some discourse on social media because people didn't really understand what I was mentioning or what I was talking about. I said, how quick does he come on in and he's delegated to fucking Collision Wrestling Commander and the Beast Mortos on Saturday night in front of 300,000 people? That's exactly what I feel the creative is going to end up doing with Speedball, and they're going to throw these dream matches at him, and they're going to throw these great wrestling matches at him, and that's all they're going to use him for. I don't really see a substantial place for him on TV, even though he wrestles like a fucking world champion. What do you make of this, Jason? I know it's where the best wrestle, but don't AEW have enough to worry about instead of bringing in more talent when their talent pool is so deep that they don't even find room for 80% of the current roster right now on TV?
Well, Tony Khan is not going to suddenly stop being competitive for talent. I mean, he's still going to want to bring talent into his company. And we still don't know what the, I guess, fate of that supposed Shockwave show that they're shopping around. There could still be another AEW show on TV. I don't know if it would be on Fox or not, but they're still shopping that around too. And so I don't know if the idea is that they're expecting more programming, so they have to really load up and have this talent that they can then utilize maybe on the new show. So I don't know what Tony Khan's plans are as far as that goes. It is a very large roster. There are a lot of people on there who I would like to see featured more or featured in a higher position, and they're not for various reasons. One of those reasons being there's too many fucking people, and there's a lot of competition for a limited number of spots. If Mike Bailey comes in, he'll be competing for those same spots. So yes, he may not end up at a spot that you or other people want to see him in, but he may have his reasons. If he goes to AEW, he may have his reasons for wanting to go there and not WWE. Because I can't imagine WWE, even for NXT, wouldn't have an interest in him. I mean, he's an amazing talent. Character-wise, you know, he fits better with AEW because he's not a real character-driven guy. He goes in there, and what he is, he's known as a great wrestler. It's not as if he's out there and he's oozing charisma as a personality on TV. And we know that WWE loves to come up with characters for people in NXT, or, put a microphone in your hand. And we just haven't had the opportunity to see a lot of that out of him in TNA. So I can't even sit here and tell you what his ceiling is, or how great he is or isn't as far as that goes. I just haven't seen it. When I see Mike Bailey, even when we bring him in, right, he's coming in to have a great fucking match.
Yeah.
That's what AEW is all about. They bring in people to have banger matches. So he'll fit in perfectly in AEW, but don't be surprised if, he kind of gets, I would say, lost in the shuffle, but he may be at a certain level that people are not going to be happy with. But I still feel like AEW is the better fit for him. If between the two companies, if I see WWE here and AEW here, who do I think would suit Mike Bailey more? It's AEW. So I get it. If that's where he goes, he'll have plenty of great challengers to step into the ring with. I think it'll fit his style. I don't know that I see him as a WWE guy. I don't know. I see him more as an AEW guy than a WWE guy.
I agree with you. I think you are spot on about his charisma and his character and what he brings to the table. There really isn't much there outside of he's an unbelievable pro wrestler. But when you look at the NXT men's side for that NXT championship and the lack of depth that they have over there, where the women are just owning that entire Tuesday night show, you bring in a Mike Bailey, and that really is a nice shot in the arm for the NXT championship title picture. So I don't know why NXT wouldn't make a valiant effort to go out. I don't know if they have or have not. I don't really know. But if Mike Bailey's out there and NXT needs substantial help, I would absolutely be going out there and making a big stink about getting Mike Bailey in. But Sapp says he's headed to AEW, and we will see how that works out. I know.
And keep in mind also, we don't know. We were just talking about Josh Alexander. He doesn't want the grind anymore. He wants to stop doing indies. Maybe Bailey wants to continue doing indies. Right? He's all over the place. I mean, Mike Bailey, you got to remember, some people forget, he was banned for 5 years from traveling to the United States. So he was wrestling elsewhere, and it took 5 years, and finally he came back, and he was everywhere, right? Because it probably felt like he had to make up for lost time. So he was wrestling everywhere. He's still wrestling everywhere, and maybe he wants to continue to do that. And in WWE, he's not going to be able to. He's going to be in one place. In AEW, he can do that. He can continue to work indies and book his own shots. Maybe that's what he wants.
That's also a very attractive thing about AEW. So yes, wasn't it? I know when he actually wrestled a couple of WrestleMania seasons ago. I know he was all over the place. I don't forget what city it was. Didn't he wrestle like 12 matches in a single weekend or something like that? It was
he wrestled like 10 times in one weekend. There was a WrestleMania weekend. I want to say it might have been
38.
Yeah, maybe Dallas. It was Dallas or Hollywood, but yeah, I mean, it was crazy. Like the number of matches he had, the fact that he didn't get hurt was insane. He was everywhere, and I can understand it. I'm sure there's some of that is just like, man, I'm making up for lost time here. He basically lost 5 years of his career. So I say let the man do what he wants. He knows what works for him and what's in his heart. And what's going to be best for him, and as far as what he makes, I'm sure he'll get paid well. But if he wants to continue to work indies, that's just not something he's going to be able to do in WWE, and I think that might factor into his decision.
Yeah, we'll keep an update on that, but it looks like he is headed over there come the new year for AEW. Someone who may be on their way out, I would assume so when his contract is up, is Danhausen. We have an update on him, as Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select said that a lot of people were asking, where is Danhausen? Sources Fightful had spoken to claim that AEW and Danhausen have not been in regular contact for well over 6 months outside of approvals for indie dates, which are protocol for talent under AEW contract. Danhausen was set to return from injury about a year ago, and plans changed regarding his return that led to Danhausen expressing frustration directly to Tony Khan. There have been a few pitches to possibly bring him back earlier in the year, and Fightful was told that Bryan Danielson actually made some pitches for Danhausen. Nothing emerged from those plans, but Danhausen has been willing to return to work for AEW. Since publishing this article, Fightful said they heard that at least one member of the AEW creative team spoke with Danhausen in September. Now, they were also told that AEW was of the belief that Danhausen wanted to prioritize indie bookings over wrestling on Collision on Saturdays. Haha. I just find that to be funny. On the other side of things, that Danhausen had indicated to AEW that there were family-related reasons that could and did change as the year went on that caused adjustments to his availability. AEW had seen him doing indies before that period and believed he didn't want to work Collision. Fightful Select learned that Danhausen's AEW contract runs into the summer of 2025, and there are no creative plans in order to bring him back anytime soon. Now, listen, I'm not the biggest fan of Danhausen. I don't really see where he fits on TV, even now in the current spectrum of AEW. But I don't want to sit here and not be me, so I'm going to say what I have to say. Tinfoil cap on here. There's just something, Jason, about seeing some of the talent in AEW that has not been booked and not been on TV in a meaningful way. And I'm just going to point out a couple of names here, Danhausen being one of them. We got Jamie Hayter, who outwardly said that if you don't take advice from CM Punk, then you are a fool. Ricky Starks was close to CM Punk. He hasn't been on television since March of this year. We got Ray Phoenix, who's not on TV. Penta, who's not on TV. I don't know what their relationship is to CM Punk, but I don't think he has a problem or they have a problem with CM Punk. There are a nice handful of names that have not been on TV since Phil Brooks left the company. I'm even going to mention FTR here because FTR, when they had CM Punk by their side, they were all over the show. They still are all over the show, but they lose more than they win. I don't know if that factors into anything, but they aren't even booked as the FTR that we used to know. A lot of these men and women have not been in a substantial role because CM Punk left the company, and I do think deep down, personally, that Tony Khan is taking it out on several talents who did support CM Punk, and I think Danhausen is one of them. Is that the reason why he's not on TV? No, it's not the sole reason. I genuinely don't think that Tony Khan or anybody in AEW finds Danhausen to be a good wrestler. That's why he's not on TV, or a good character. That's why he's not on TV. If he was, and if they thought that, he'd be on TV. So I don't really think this is as confusing as people are making out. Why is Danhausen not on TV? Those are the two reasons. He's not good, and I don't think because of his likeness to CM Punk, his fondness for CM Punk, I do think that is a partial reason he's not on TV.
I wouldn't say he's not good. I think that Danhausen, he has a role on the show. You know, he's a comedy character. He makes people laugh. He puts a curse on people, right? I mean, it's just he has a character that works for him, and there's only so much I think that you can do with him on the show. Do I blame his friendship or closeness with CM Punk? You mentioned conspiracy theory. Yeah, I think that's a conspiracy theory. I don't buy into that at all. You mentioned something I think in that report and made reference to something that was personal that may have affected his availability. I know that was something that his wife had gone public with many months ago, where I think they suffered a miscarriage. So I know they went through some hell there for a little while. But that was for a certain period of time, and he seemed to be unhappy even before that. Remember, he was passively aggressive on Twitter. He was posting stuff out of character, clearly upset. And it had something to do also, there was something with a t-shirt. I don't remember all the details. Merch that was being sold. Clearly, he's not happy. I knew that then. You could tell just based on the way he was tweeting and the messages he was posting. He's not happy. He's not happy with his position there. He's not happy with not being used. He was hurt for a while. Remember, I think, did he tear his pec? Was that the injury
Something
that he suffered?
Yeah, he was out for like 9 months, yeah.
It was like Revolution, I think. So there have been a few things along the way that have taken him out of the game, personally and injury-wise. But clearly he is not happy. I don't know how much time he has left on his contract, but do I think that him being on the bench and not being used has to do with how close he is or was to CM Punk? I don't. And you mentioned FTR. Whatever you think of FTR and the way they're being pushed or not pushed, I don't think it has anything to do with CM Punk. CM Punk was friends with a lot of people in that company. You know who else he was friends with? Darby Allin. And you know who else he was friends with? Brody King. And you can say what you will about what you think about the booking of Brody King, but, you know, he's been featured at different times too. So,
yeah, Darby's a day oneer, though. He's always going to get booked.
Okay, but so what? So, again, I just pointed out some other names that have been featured on TV. What about Miro? We haven't seen Miro all year. Was he a good friend of CM Punk's? Not to my knowledge.
I don't think so. No.
Okay, so Tony Khan, I think Tony Khan in certain situations, people like Ricky Starks have been kept off TV because Tony Khan probably knows and figures that Ricky Starks is gone. When the time comes, Ricky Starks is gone. He is not going to stay in AEW. And in his mind, he probably just figures, well, I'm not going to put the guy on TV, which he could do. I mean, he could put him on TV and use him to put other people over. I think it's idiotic to have somebody under contract that you're paying and not to use them and just sit them at home. It's like a free vacation for them. Unfortunately for them, it also puts them on ice and they're not able to up their value. It's kind of just out of sight, out of mind.
Now, the thing is with this, you know, these men and women are clearly making a good living being on the AEW roster for basically doing nothing. Like Miro, Ricky Starks sitting at home getting paid. I'm sure Tony Khan is not, you know, skimping on the paycheck. What does this?
And they could work indies.
They could, and it's got to get approved by Tony Khan. But what does this do mentally? You're making some money, but what does this do mentally? I mean, does Tony Khan take into consideration that sitting a Ray Phoenix and a Penta at home, who obviously want to work, Ricky Starks at home, Jamie Hayter coming back and not being used substantially, spotty here and there. She's had these nothing feuds with Penelope Ford. She's probably feuding with Julia Hart, as we saw on Wednesday's Dynamite.
Well, they're building her up.
Yeah, they're building her up slowly but surely. But like Danhausen, what does this do mentally? What is Tony thinking about the mental health of these individuals? Because I know a lot of people really were looking at AEW as an opportunity, and now that opportunity is not coming. I'm sure this is weighing heavily on their mental state, no?
Yeah, but that's not Tony Khan's concern, though. I mean, Tony Khan has his reasons for doing it. I don't think he gives a shit about their mental state. Is it weighing on their mental state? Yeah, it would weigh on mine. If I wanted to be on television and I wanted to be featured and up my stock, I can't do that by sitting on my ass at home. Ricky Starks has been out the majority of 2024. Nobody's been talking about Ricky Starks. Now, when he finally comes back, whether it's AEW or somewhere else, people will be talking about him and he can try to build his name back up. But in the meantime, he's been on ice. Then that's got to fuck with his head. Plus, you know he's frustrated because he's constantly getting questions from people wondering if he's hurt. And he's come out 2 different times at least now publicly and said, I'm not hurt. I'm not injured. I'm not hurt. I wasn't hurt, but everybody thinks he is. So that's got to weigh on him too, that people think I'm hurt. They think I'm injury prone, and he claims he's not. So yes, it fucks with your head, but I don't think Tony Khan cares. Tony Khan has his reasons. What all of his reasons are, I can't get in his head, and that's probably a scary place. I don't want to be in his head, but he's got his reasons for it. With Ricky Starks, in my opinion, it's because he knows Ricky Starks is gone. Miro, I don't know. For the life of me, I will never understand what happened with Miro. Because we've had start and stop fits with him. The run that he had as TNT champion, it wasn't that long, but he had kind of a good thing going there for a while. The Redeemer, it was a good character for him. And the fans, he was over. I mean, the fans were into him. Remember that great match he had at World's End last year with Andrade?
Yes, I was there.
Right. So you've had these moments with him, but then he just disappears.
He got hurt, and then he went through a divorce. I don't know how much that took a toll on him.
This year, yes, yeah. But I'm not even just talking about this year. What about last year?
Couldn't tell you.
And the year before that. Like, he has been out more than he's been on TV since he signed with this company.
He's doing DraftKings ads on fucking X. That's what he's doing.
Okay, well, good for him, because guess what? That means he's making money from Tony Khan, and he's making money from DraftKings. So, hey, good for him, man. It's Rusev Day every day. Good for him. But that I can't explain. I have no idea why he's not being... There's also been reports that he's rejected creative, and so maybe...
Sure.
I think there's blame to go around with Miro. I can't put that all on Tony Khan. That just seems like a situation where these two should not be working together, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, so it's different with everybody. I just, to go back to the Punk thing though, I don't subscribe to this conspiracy bullshit that he's taking it out or punishing certain people that he knows are close to Punk. I'm sure Tony Khan does not like CM Punk. And he does not like what happened and the way things ended. He invested a lot in him. He got a show from Warner Brothers Discovery that was intended to be built around CM Punk. And when he had to fire him, and I understand why he did, some people still think that was the wrong move to make, but, you know, look, you can't go beating up your coworkers, so he did what had to be done. But by doing that, he shot himself in the foot because now he couldn't build the show around Punk. So he got fucked. And so I'm sure there's no love lost there. But I don't think he's taking it out on these other people like, oh, they're friends with him, so I'm going to show Punk. I'm going to, bury this guy. Now you're getting into the tinfoil hat stuff, and I just don't subscribe to that. I think it's very easy to use that as a scapegoat. I don't buy it. I don't think that has to do with why they're not being used. You can blame Tony Khan for other reasons. Why are you not using this person? Don't blame it on the fact that they were friends with CM Punk. I just think that's stupid.
Just as a word of warning for anybody that's going to be watching this after the fact, this is the reason why Jason's on the show. He's not here to agree with everything that I said, and he clearly didn't. So there you go. That's the reason for TNT, okay?
Well, I think I've disagreed with you at least 4 or 5 times tonight, but sometimes people, I don't know what show they're watching. I don't know what show sometimes they're watching. Boy, I disagree with him. Really? You must not be watching the show. So, yeah.
There you go.
I don't really take their feedback
seriously. There's always good banter. That's the one reason why you guys are here. So that's we appreciate that.
Look, I just don't subscribe to it. I just think it's nonsense, and it's just an easy thing to blame it on. I think there's other reasons for it. I don't agree with all the reasons for it. I think if you're going to pay somebody, and unless their deal is up in the next few months, fucking use them or let them go. And I feel the same way about the Lucha Bros. Or at least Phoenix. I think Phoenix is really the one who's kind of trapped there. Use them or let them go. I don't see what is gained. It seems spiteful to just keep them on the bench and not use them when you can be using them and they want to be active. That I don't agree with.
Yeah, he knows, like you said, he knows that they're gone. They're headed to WWE, and he is being petty. He's just keeping them under his thumb, and he's like, no, you're going to stay here until I say you can go.
It's petty. No, I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's petty. And so WWE is not the only company that can be petty. Vince McMahon, Triple H, all these people can be petty. They're not the only ones. Tony Khan is being petty when it comes to that stuff.
Speaking of being petty, we're going to talk about some of the attendance woes from AEW and what they're currently suffering from. But they did book the Hammerstein Ballroom for Ring of Honor Final Battle, and they will be taping a Collision and Dynamite at the Hammerstein Ballroom that same weekend. This was reported by Andrew Zarian of the Matt Men's podcast, and he's also with Fightful. Sean Ross Sapp also noted that the promotion plans to run the December 21st episode of Collision, like I just mentioned. The final battle will take place on December 20th. I would prefer you guys go to the House of Glory show on December 20th at Club Amazora in Jamaica, Queens. It's happening the same night. Correct?
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. Yes, we have a
come see us.
Come see us. Come see us. Right?
Yes.
We're not going to be there. Come see us. That's where we're going to be that night. But New York is going to be the happening place for wrestling that weekend.
I know. I would go to the Collision show on Saturday, but I think I will be in Atlantic City watching Mark Tremonti sing Frank Sinatra. So I'm sorry for all the collisioners out there who can't see me at Hammerstein Ballroom. So,
but you've got Dynamite on Sunday the 22nd.
I may go to that. I may show up there, and I may have to wear a bulletproof vest or something because knowing this audience, they don't like me too much.
We'll throw you off one of the balconies they have there in the.
It's all right.
In the Hammerstein.
I'll imitate New Jack.
It's like a little. It's like a residency basically. They're there for several. I think it's great.
I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. I love Hammerstein.
I think it's great, and I'm sure you were going to mention this next, but it's just funny to me that for years, I don't know about you, but for me on my platform, for at least a couple of years now, I've been saying, I don't care who it is. And I thought it would be perfect for AEW, but whether it was NXT, a WWE main roster show, AEW, why are none of these promotions running a show, a TV taping or whatever at the Hammerstein Ballroom? It's a great wrestling venue. It looks great. I know for WWE, it's not a huge venue, but like these days for NXT, like it would be perfect. And they just wouldn't run there.
Even the Manhattan Center.
Well, the Hammerstein's in the Manhattan Center.
I know, but the upper level, the 900-seater upstairs, not the big ballroom.
Yeah, no, the ballroom is up on the 8th floor.
I'm talking. That's what I'm talking. Not the big concert hall down below on the bottom level.
That's Hammerstein.
Manhattan Center's upstairs. That's the one I'm talking about.
No. Jesus Christ. The building is the Manhattan Center. So when you walk in on that main level, that's the Hammerstein Ballroom. It's technically within the Manhattan Center. On the 8th floor is the Grand Ballroom. But it's all the Manhattan
the whole
Center.
building is the Manhattan. I just call it Hammerstein Ballroom. I never call it the Manhattan Center.
The whole thing is the Manhattan Center.
Oh, whatever. You know
But
what I mean.
when you walk in on well, you want to be semantics, you got to get it right.
Where
Anyway, 1993
Raw debuted upstairs with the Ico Pro
That's
flag.
upstairs.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's do a show up there.
That's upstairs, and they have one little elevator. So most people end up just going up the stairs. So you're going up 8 flights of stairs. So because I did this when TNA, they used to do shows there a lot, actually, up in the Grand Ballroom, and Taped Impact, and maybe they did some pay-per-views there. I don't know. But all I remember is like we're running up the stairs, and you get to the 8th floor, and I mean, even I was a little winded, but you got a lot of fans by the time they get up there, man. They could be using some oxygen by the time they get up to that 8th floor. But you walk in, and yeah, it's smaller than Hammerstein, but it generally has the same kind of look. You know, you've got the balcony up there. So it's just a great venue. But I mentioned this because now AEW is going to run there. And we get this report that WWE wanted to run there, I think, next month for NXT because this ECW tribute show at the 2300 in Philadelphia was such a big success. So they wanted to run Hammerstein, but they can't, or they're not going to, because AEW is running there. And I'm like, you had years to run at this fucking venue. Now, all of a sudden, they're trying to get in on it at the same time. I'm like, what took you so long? Like, why did you waiting until now?
Oh, you mentioned Petty. There you go.
Yeah, I guess so. But so instead, NXT is going to be running the Lowell, I think it's the Civic Auditorium in Lowell, Massachusetts on December 17th. So they are running on the road again. This is exactly what I said I hope they do. I don't see any reason for them not to do one road show a month. Just one. That's all you need to do. Just to get out of the PC once a month. Get a small, intimate venue somewhere, which AEW is going to be doing a lot of soon. And I think that's fine. So I hope NXT gets to the Hammerstein next year. But I think it's great that AEW is running there. And it's exactly the kind of venue that they should be running.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be great. Hopefully they can fill it out. If they can't fill that place out, I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
No, they'll fill it out. Their first time there, they'll fill it out. And they have Final Battle there, and there have been a lot of great Ring of Honor shows that some of them I've been to, and Final Battle's in that building. So even with ROH, like there's a lot of history with that promotion in that venue.
Hammerstein's going to be busy. They got AEW, Ring of Honor, they got Collision, Dynamite, and then they got GCW in the middle of January. So
yeah. Hopefully that goes better than their first show that Hammerstein did.
I watched that show, and I actually ordered that show. Never again after all the disappointment that was felt there. That's just
I watched it. I reviewed it.
Yep.
And then somehow I ended up in the trailer for this new show because they had a compilation.
You ended up in a trailer for GCW?
Yeah. So they put together it's like a trailer, like a 2-minute trailer video to promote this new show. And they took a very interesting approach with it because they're acknowledging how fucking terrible the first show was. So the way it starts out, they have clips of different content creators and reviewers basically like crapping on the show. And I'm like, oh shit, there I am. And they have me in there. So they're admitting that, look, it was a swing and a miss the first time. This time, this is our chance to get it right. So I thought that's an interesting approach to it, but now they have to stick the landing. Like they can't go in there and crap the bed for a second time. So they're hoping people will give them a second chance. I hope it works out, but it's just it's a different kind of approach to promoting a show.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. I hated that show, and like you said, I don't know what the problem was with the last show. What was it? The production value? Was it the way it was shot? I don't remember even what it was because it was so terrible. The match quality? What was it? Maybe a mixture of everything.
It was a mixture. I think it was a combination of different things. I just remember on that show you had Bully Ray was there, and the entire crowd chanting "Fuck Bully Ray." So that stands out to me. And I think a lot of the other stuff on the show I've kind of blocked out of my mind. I'm sure. Cardona was there, but
didn't he wrestle Homicide on that show?
I think so. I don't remember what Nick Gage did, but Yeah, I mean, I think they had a battle royal also maybe at the beginning.
There was a ladder. There was a ladder match on that show. I remember.
They had
fucking
everything.
clusterfuck. Yeah, it was everything.
Yeah, it was everything. But this is basically like the people against GCW, and the rest of the trailer. It's like a lot of the key faces, for GCW, including Mason, is featured in it. Like they're convicts who are arriving off the bus, and they come to it's a very well done production wise. And so now they just have to go and put on a great show. But that's coming up. I don't know the exact day, but it's in January. It's coming up.
I think it's like the 18th, somewhere around there, middle of the month.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
So I could find this trailer on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or social media, just type it in. Or I think it's The People versus GCW. That might be the name of the show. And it should come right up.
I got to look at that. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, I was going there. And yes, NXT did try to step on AEW's toes for the Hammerstein Ballroom. They failed. So like Jason said, I uttered that in my video earlier this week too. You had all this time to go run Hammerstein Ballroom, and now you want to do it in December. So there you go. You get what you get with that one.
WWE's like, oh man, we can't run now because they're going to run there. Like, yeah, you could have run there a year ago if you wanted to. You chose to wait.
Yeah, I know. It's their fault. Speaking of NXT, there's a little news and note to go along with that. They are discussing potentially, which I hope this is absolutely not going to happen. Dave Meltzer, our favorite fucking journalist, Dave Meltzer, reported that supposedly they want to make the ECW 2300 arena shows an annual thing with an ECW theme tie-in, Jason, meaning that it would be an ECW themed show, nostalgia, throwback show at the 2300 arena annually, every year. That's a fucking mistake. I don't know why they would want to do that. I just feel like the current NXT product has nothing to do with the old school ECW product that we all grew up on. So just leave it alone. And if you want to run a show there and give us the current NXT product that we see on Tuesday nights in the ECW arena, that's more than enough for me. I don't need to see any ECW nostalgia acts on the show, not really playing into any major storylines like we saw on that show that we covered, which I thought was a fucking mistake that we both did it. But I would just like to see them run the show and nothing more. Run the building and nothing more than that.
If there's one thing that we can always bet on in wrestling, in life, really, death, taxes, and trying to make some sweet cash off that ECW nostalgia. Yeah. I feel like they're going to be running ECW nostalgia shows until the day we die. And so now it's like you're just beating a dead horse. As an ECW sort of memorial show, it was very lame. I thought it was smart, at least for them, to try to use some of the old faces to give rub to the new talent, which is what they did. I don't know what was going on with RVD, because it was clear to me they did not want him getting physical at all. It was almost like he was hurt. Something came up on his medicals. I don't know what happened with him. Because even in the backstage segment, when Wes Lee attacked him, they wouldn't even show it, right? It happened off camera. And then he comes out to the ring later and he doesn't even throw a punch. So the people in the building enjoyed it. I think as a one-time thing, it was fine. But to just go back to it, I think running the venue is fine. But to do the whole ECW nostalgia thing on a regular basis, it's just like, come on, we it's enough. Yeah. I think we've had enough. It's just time to move on.
We got other dates here for AEW. They are, which is great because they haven't done this, and I feel like they're trying to fix some of the problems that they have. They released a big winter schedule, and where they're going to be bringing Dynamite and Collision. So just a couple of the more important dates. I'm not going to go over all of them because they have several dates listed through March 2025. So they announced today some December events and well into 2025. So they have the Hammerstein Ballroom show, which we talked about, December 20th through the 22nd. That's going to be Final Battle, Dynamite, and Collision tapings for that weekend, for the next week. It's going to be a Dynamite Fight for the Fallen episode on January 1st in Asheville, North Carolina. That's going to be AEW's debut on Max, which is going to be great. And that will benefit victims of Hurricane Helene. And that will lead into March 9th, another major date for AEW. They will be bringing Revolution to the Crypto.com arena in Los Angeles. So that's a big arena. Usually they run, where do they usually run in Los Angeles?
Well, they've run the Forum,
yeah.
before. So, yeah, this is the old Staples Center. I mean, that's a big building.
So yeah, that's they're getting those dates out there, which is a good deal. And hopefully the Crypto.com arena gets a great card so that they can fill that place the way it needs for Revolution, which is probably one of their biggest flagship shows of the entire year. So I'm excited for that. And AEW trying to rectify their attendance issues, Jason, by getting the early word out, because this week was not a good week if you are AEW as far as ticket sales and attendance. The first of which, I'm going to start with this before we get into the story that broke yesterday. There was an episode of Collision that was slated for December 7th, and that was in Columbus, Ohio. That event got canceled. It was supposed to be at the Nationwide Arena, and the website stated the following: the AEW wrestling event, originally scheduled for December 7th at the Nationwide Arena, has been canceled. No reason was given. So then an update followed, and they moved the show on the same day to the convention center. The Greater Columbus Convention Center will now host the show. And apparently they only had 1,000 tickets out for this show. And I believe the venue, the Nationwide Arena, was anywhere in the vicinity of 12 to 13,000 seats. 1,000 seats in a 13,000 seat arena. That's just awful for AEW. So I don't know what was the excuse that the dirt sheets picked up on, but the low ticket sales, I'm assuming, is what caused AEW to move to a much smaller venue for the December 7th Collision show, which then bleeds into the story we got today. And AEW is currently unable to run shows in smaller buildings because of logistical reasons, and they will be downsizing in 2025. Now, it was announced in Columbus, Ohio, the venue is going to be the Greater Columbus Convention Center. That will be a part of GalaxyCon in Columbus, Ohio. And Brian Alvarez mentioned this on The Observer. I'm going to be kind of vague, but it's happening. I just don't know all the technical details. Alvarez says he heard from people within AEW who have been advocating for the company to run smaller venues. He says, I've been told that there is headway being made to run smaller buildings. Now you hear that and think, why does headway need to be made? Just book smaller buildings. Well, apparently there actually was a logistical reason why they are running a lot larger buildings, and it had to do with set and in particular the lighting rig. There was something that had to be in their set that was basically too large and heavy to get into smaller buildings, and so they've been working on retooling it so they can actually get their set into smaller buildings. So I think that in 2025, when that starts coming in, they've been talking about different ideas for production and everything like that. I think we're going to finally get the move, and they are going to be in smaller buildings. They're going to work on some production, and it will be positive in how the show looks, sounds, comes off on television, and they will save a lot of money. Now, I think this, Jason, has been a growing sentiment from journalists and podcasters. Why don't they move to smaller buildings? I mean, fine. They're going to move to smaller buildings. But when you look at over the last 3 to 4 years, the attendance decline, the ratings decline, the demo decline, the interest decline, everything is declining in AEW. It's unavoidable, and people just don't want to address the issues. How the fuck did we get here? I mean, I just look at Arthur Ashe from just a few years ago. They filled that place with Omega and Bryan, 22,000 people. The following year, 14,000. The next year after that, 10,000. This year, I think they had just about 8,000 people. Where the fuck did everybody go? 1,000 people in Columbus, Ohio. Chicago, we just talked about it in the sound check before we went live tonight. I mean, the last time they were there in the Wintrust Arena, they did close to 6,000 people. They don't have 2,200 tickets out the fucking door. Where's everybody going? How did we get here? This is a major problem that nobody is really talking about. Smaller venues are going to be, a great thing for us to see on TV. It's going to sound better. It's going to look better. But AEW at this point, did they grow too fast, or too big too fast? And did they really kind of bite a little bit more than they can chew here as far as competing with WWE? Because when you look at AEW in the early stages, man, they were doing 12,000, 13,000. When Punk was there, they were doing tens of thousands of people. And now when you watch Dynamite, I know you feel it. It's just fucking sad. It's depressing. It's just like, the fuck am I doing here, man? It's lifeless. I don't know if they're giving tickets away. There's no energy to these shows. How the fuck did we get here?
Well, I mean, Moxley made the comment in the New York Post where he said, that's exactly what he said. He goes, maybe this company grew, too big too fast. And he's looking at everything as kind of like a reset, right now. I think that could be part of it. I think ultimately it comes down to star power and creative. They lost star power when CM Punk went away. CM Punk was their biggest draw, and they got rid of him, which they had to do because that was an untenable relationship at that point. And that hurt them. But that's not the only thing that hurt them. Creative. When you don't have the creative, that people are buying into to support people wanting to buy tickets and people wanting to tune into the shows, unfortunately, this is what you see. So how did we get here? The answer to the question of how we got here is they drove a good chunk of their audience away. And the better question is, why did they do that? And then how can you fix it? It's not an overnight solution. So when I see them booking smaller venues, I think we should be celebrating that, in that if they would have just kept on booking the bigger buildings, it's almost like they're like stubborn, like a stubbornness, right? It just doesn't make any sense, because the shows, when you have a 10,000 seat, let's say NBA arena, right? And a lot of those arenas are even bigger. Let's say they're 15,000 seat, and you can't even get half that building filled. You hear it. Like, you can darken the building all you want to, but you hear it. And you could tell, like, there's just not that many people in the building. Now, you can get a really small crowd that's super vocal. I remember when they had their Canadian tour last summer. It was last year. And I don't remember which province they were in. Maybe it was Calgary. I don't remember. But again, they had a very small number of people in the building, and it was like super loud. So, like, sometimes you'll get a crowd like that, but a lot of times you don't. And it reflects on the show. You mentioned, how did we get here? It used to be different. The shows you talk about life and energy. The shows used to have more light. Like, you could see everybody. And now it's very dark because they're trying to hide those areas where they don't have a lot of people. And yes, it is sad. And I make that comment sometimes with these shows when I'm watching them and the crowd isn't so enthusiastic. It's definitely, it feels like a different product than the one that we saw 2 or 3 years ago. But this is where we are. And we can continue to talk about it and bitch about it until we turn blue in the face, but it's not going to change anything. So the only way to change things is to improve the creative and just start doing stuff to just draw people in week to week, to make them want to tune in and make them willing to part with their money to buy a ticket to go to these shows. It is absolutely the right move for them to move into the smaller venues. I think that's going to help a lot as far as the look, the feel, the energy of these shows. We even see it with NXT. NXT runs small venues every week. Even the PC is a small venue. When they go out on the road and they run, some of them are very unique looking venues, right? I love that. And it just offers a different energy and a different vibe for the shows. That's what AEW needs right now. They need a different energy. They need a different vibe. I forgot what I was reading this week. Maybe it was something in the Observer, but there was a mention of Tony Khan had wanted to run Club La Vila. This is some time ago. That's where WCW used to have their spring break shows. That was a unique concept.
That would be great.
But they can't, because I think it burned down and it's not there anymore. But he wanted to run there before that happened. But I think that's the mindset that you have to use. Like, okay, can we come up with something? What was the show? Beach Break, right? They have their Beach Break show every year. But they would have Beach Break in like January. And I'm like, Beach Break in January? Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, they were doing some of those shows on the Jericho Cruise. Now, granted, it was a taped show in the middle of fucking nowhere, but man, what a vibe that was.
Yeah, and I understand you can't, there might be logistical reasons you can't do that every year. But like, okay, do a show like that in the summer and find an interesting location to do almost like a spring break type of show. But running the smaller venues, I think, is going to help them a lot. You might say, well, okay, it's just sort of an admission that we can't fill buildings anymore. Well, they can't. So run the smaller venues. And while you're doing that, it's on Tony Khan to try to find ways to improve the product enough that people want to come to the shows. Maybe in a year, you and I are sitting here talking about the fact that they're starting to run bigger buildings and they're putting 5,000, 6,000 people every week in the buildings for Dynamite. But this is going to take time. This is not an overnight thing. I mean, they've done some real damage here. They've chased away a lot of people. And there's a lot of AEW fans that get very angry when you mention that. And then you're a hater, you're this, you're that. You're just pointing out facts, right? I'm not the one who drove those people away. These people were there. They existed. Now they're not. Like, that's just a fact. You can't debate that. So why don't we have a conversation about what can be done to try to fix that? Because I wanted to go back to the way it was, right? It was even more fun back then. I wanted to go back there. But you can't dispute facts. Like, facts don't care about your feelings. Fuck your feelings. The facts are the facts. And these people are no longer there. So it's going to take time for Tony Khan to try to find ways to bring them back. Is the Death Riders going to be the way to do that? It isn't so far. Was the Elite angle successful in doing that? No. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know that it's a single storyline. I don't know that it's one person. You know, if Kenny Omega comes back tomorrow, is he going to, suddenly bring back all those people that stopped watching? No. It's more than that. It's more than just one person. But it's gonna take time and an admission that, okay, we were doing something wrong, and we recognize that, and now we're taking steps to try to fix that. I don't really know that they're doing that yet, but I hope they can find their way, and 2025 is a rebound year for them, because that's the only way you're going to be able to get those people back and put more people in these buildings. Give them a reason to want to come to your show. They have to look at it as fun. They want to spend their money. They want to come to the arenas. It's just not happening right now.
I wonder how much of the ticketing prices for AEW shows are coming into play. I hear a lot of people mentioning that the ticket prices for a standard Dynamite are ridiculous. They should lower the prices significantly for these shows so that more people can afford to go. I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't have it in front of me, but I hear that complaint a lot. Is it because they're running these rinky-dink towns? I mean, some of these places, I never heard of some of these places that they run. Are they running major cities? Should they run more major cities and come off like a major wrestling promotion instead of working, fucking middle of nowhere, like population fucking 600 in the middle of nowhere town? Like, is that a problem? Should they rectify that and fix that?
Yes, but I've heard from people who, watch AEW and are fans of the product, who also say when they come to some of these smaller towns, like, they didn't even know. Like, they're like, oh, I would have gone if I would have known. And I think they've taken steps to try to address the issues they had as far as their local marketing is concerned. So, I mean, that's good. I don't know that they're still doing a great job necessarily in all these markets. I hope so, because that's an area that they had to improve on. It's kind of a problem when you have diehard wrestling fans who live in the middle of, one of these towns, and they don't even know that AEW is coming to town. So I think that's part of the issue too. I don't think you just want to run exclusively the big cities. I think you want to have a mix of both. There are some places they run that don't sound like your typical wrestling city that they would go to, and they get small crowds. And then so you learn from that. You don't go back there again. But I think you don't want to alienate, certain areas. You want to try to build up your fan base there. But again, there's no easy answer to it. I just think you have to have that recognition. Just admit, like, okay, there is a problem here, and we have to take steps to address it. The problem is when you run into people who can't even admit that there's anything wrong. Oh, everything's great. Well, yeah, look, Full Gear this weekend. I didn't see the last numbers, right? They're going to have a decent crowd. They're going to have a pretty good crowd.
I have it pulled up here. They have 7,400 tickets out, and they have a current setup of 8,369.
Okay, so they're going to have that's a solid crowd right there. Great crowd for the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Certain places they run for the first time. They ran Wembley for the first time, right? 74,000. I've seen so many numbers for that show. 72,000.
72,000.
Okay, we'll say 72,000, even if it was 52,000, right? Which is closer to what they had this year. That's great. Okay, now over time, they keep going back to Wembley, and those numbers are going to go down. We see what happened with Arthur Ashe. They're going to be in Australia for Grand Slam in February. That's going to be very interesting. How many tickets are they going to move for that show, right? Can they get 40, 50,000 people, or are they going to struggle? Because that's the first time that they're running a major show down there. And they have a lot of stadium shows lined up, right? Or at least a handful of them in 2025. Texas, right? The big Texas show coming up in July at, I think it's Globe Life Field.
42,000 seats?
Yeah. And so it'll be a little bit easier, I think, in those places where they haven't run before. You have a major show. I'm talking more about the week to week. The shows that we watch virtually 52 weeks out of the year. Dynamite, if you watch Collision, those are the shows that they're really struggling with week to week. Not so much like the big shows. And that's where they have to just work to figure out how to get more people into the buildings. For now, run the smaller venues, 1,000 people, 2,000 people, because it'll be louder. You know, it really does help the overall feel and aesthetic of the product when it seems like, man, these people are hot, they're hungry for the show, and you're not looking out at a bunch of just dark space. And it doesn't just sound like you could hear all the echoes. You hear it every week.
Of course, you do a backstage segment. I feel like everybody's echoing. It's awful to listen to.
It's terrible. So this is a great move. I think that is a step in the right direction. I'm happy to hear it. And I think it will be a big improvement until they can get their shit together and figure out how to, again, get some of those lapsed fans back if they can.
You mentioned Kenny Omega, and he is not going to be the answer to all of their problems. It's going to take a lot more than just Kenny Omega coming back to AEW television. But Kenny Omega was interviewed by Fightful, and he said, I'd love to be back if you guys can have me, but right now, I feel like AEW has got a good thing going. And I'm going to read the whole quote because it's a lot more ridiculous than just that title of the news article. Why he made his return to New Japan Pro Wrestling instead of AEW. He says, and I quote, the way that I look at it is a lot of people, not only in Japan, but internationally, never knew who I was until I did big things in New Japan. So I really do owe New Japan a gigantic thank you. I do feel that there's a debt I have to repay in some way, shape, or form or fashion. I think by performing at the Tokyo Dome, by making my comeback at the Tokyo Dome is a way to help repay that. If it can help something for their business, then I'm more than happy to do that. I'm sure naturally the next question is, well, why not AEW first? That is the company that I helped create. That is the company that I'm contracted to. It makes sense. It's a tough question to answer because why not AEW? There's nothing wrong with AEW at all. Nothing wrong with AEW at all. If you watch...
What was I just talking about?
I mean...
What was I just talking about? Like, again...
Nothing's wrong. Everything's great.
Yeah. I mean, we could stop right there because that to me, when I read that was the quote. I'm not even bothered so much. Let me just say this. I'm not even bothered so much by the fact that he has chosen to make his in-ring return to the Tokyo Dome. Okay? Because I think that... I know you talked about, I think, how that bothered you and how ridiculous that is. I could even look at that as he's coming off of a very serious life-threatening injury. And maybe he's looking at this in a way, yeah, he wants to pay back, a debt to New Japan, but maybe this is also his way of like, let me work out the kinks here. It's my first match back. I may not be at my best. It's like almost like a practice run, right? For when he really comes back. I can totally understand that. And to me, there were people flipping out about that. That's not even a big deal. But the idea that he would say that there's nothing wrong with AEW at all. And I had people come at me and say, well, what do you expect him to say? Maybe he's a VP or an EV. I'm not even sure he's an EVP anymore, but he's an EVP in the company. And what do you think? He's going to shit on the company? No, I'm not expecting him to say that AEW sucks and, Tony Khan better get his shit together. He doesn't have to say anything at all. He doesn't have to make the comment. It's just so ludicrous to say, well, there's nothing wrong at all with AEW. Everything's just great. There's no problems whatsoever. And so they don't even need me right now. At a time when they could use him now more than ever. That's where my jaw dropped when I read that comment.
Yeah, that was a pretty outlandish comment. He goes on to say, if you watch any of the episodes of our TV recently, everything is flowing like clockwork right now. I don't know what fucking show he's watching, but no, it ain't flowing like clockwork. I feel like there's a spot for all the hardworking men and women that are on those shows. They've all worked incredibly hard to earn their spots and keep their spots. I feel like if I just kind of showed up and said, hey guys, I'm back, so one of you is going to have to, I don't want to be that guy. I feel like when there's an opportunity again, when there's a chance, sure, I'd love to be back if you guys can have me. But right now, I feel like AEW's got a good thing going. I don't think they need me, so I will make my return to New Japan instead for now. I mean, I don't think I said this immediately when I saw the context of what the clip said when I seen it posted on X. I said, has Kenny Omega watched Dynamite since he's been out with diverticulitis? I don't think so. I really don't think he has.
No, clearly not.
Or it's a low-key way. Again, I'm going to put my tinfoil cap on. Maybe it's a low-key way of him saying, I don't really want to be back at that shit show for all the problems that they have. I'm going to go over here where it's my safe space, and I'm going to, like you said, get my kinks worked out and get the wrestling itch back again and get into the flow. I'm not going over there. Look at the fucking disaster that it is right now. I'm sure that's not the case, but that's the way I kind of comically look at it. He is absolutely needed. You throw him into the Continental Classic, and then boom, television is made for at least the next 4 weeks. That's what I would do, but I get Jason's point where he wants to work out his kinks first, away from national television and just do what he's got to do.
You can't bring him back in the Continental Classic.
Whatever,
I mean, look,
he's the fucking bout machine, best bout machine. Come on.
Yeah, but my God, I mean, dude, this guy's coming off of a serious injury, and so the first thing you're going to do with him is put him in a round robin tournament where he's got to wrestle these high caliber matches every single week on TV. I mean, I know it's not as grueling as the G1, but this is basically like their G1, and that's your great idea for what to do with Omega his first time back in the company.
Probably not. That's a little too extreme. Probably not that, but
yeah, I would say that's a pretty terrible fucking idea. So no, you would not bring him back in the Continental Classic. But again, the absurdity of just the idea, the notion that there's nothing wrong. There's no way he believes that. I don't believe that he believes that.
All right. So never mind that. Fine, the Continental Classic might be out of the realm of possibility because of the whole tournament itself being just a grueling aspect. But look at what Punk and McIntyre did. How many times did they wrestle on national television? You got Punk hurt. McIntyre was hurt at one point. McIntyre was wrestling and Punk was out for 6-7 months. Kenny Omega could be back on TV and sell a storyline with how emotional and how great of a promo he is. He could be on TV and have that same effect for AEW. I don't know why that isn't the case here and why they don't bring him back in that way.
You're comparing Kenny Omega as a promo to Drew McIntyre and CM Punk?
I'm not comparing the two, but I'm saying it could be the similar effect for AEW because they need story and they need emotion, something that they're missing.
Okay, but if he's not ready to come back to the ring, and let's say by that logic he was back on the show 2 months ago or 3 months ago, if he can't do anything physical, there was no point in bringing him back if he physically was not ready and able to do so. And again, I just think some people still don't quite appreciate how serious of a situation it was with him. And I know it sounds like he's going to be back at the Tokyo Dome. I don't know that he's officially committed to that yet. So we're not even 100% sure he'll be wrestling at Wrestle Dynasty. It sounds like he will be. But I think, again, people just need to understand this was a very serious situation. He's still physically, it sounds like, not back to where he needs to be. Maybe he didn't want to be on TV until he was physically ready to be back on TV. So I don't, that doesn't bother me. I'm willing to give them a pass on not bringing him back yet. I think he needs to just get himself to a point where he's good to go. And then you bring him back. This was not like a broken arm or he's got a torn this or a torn that. This is something completely, different. And also, again, Kenny Omega, God bless him, great wrestler, not even in the same league as the guys that you mentioned as far as promos. So it's not like, yeah, Kenny's such a great promo. He could just be back on the show for months and just carry it with his promos. I never saw him as that kind of a promo guy. I'm sorry. I don't think that's his strong suit. So yeah, you could bring him back. I think that would have been a mistake, though, to bring him back that soon.
All right, well, I guess we're sticking with the comments of there's nothing wrong with AEW. I mean, again, what do you expect him to say?
I don't believe that he believes that. So,
I know he doesn't believe that.
Right. So, but that's my point. He didn't have to say that. He could have just said, well, right now there's a lot of guys who are doing a lot of good things and there's just no spot for me. But again, that was the comment that kind of, to me, made headlines because it was just so ridiculous, because clearly there are some issues that AEW needs to work out, which is why they're running smaller venues now. But we'll put that on the side. But look, The bottom line is this, to end it on a positive note, Kenny Omega is on his way back. Whether it's in a month, 2 months, Tony Khan knows that Kenny Omega is almost ready to come back. Kota Ibushi has said he's not coming back until Kenny comes back, and he's under contract now to AEW. So when Kenny comes back, he's getting the Golden Lovers back. And you hope, I sincerely hope, because, I mean, Ibushi, he looked terrible the last time we saw him. I mean, I was one of those people just begging, please go get fixed. It was painful to watch him. So I sincerely hope physically he's in a much better place now. Tony Khan is going to get 2 big names back very, very soon. And so that should be the big story here. When they're good and ready, that'll give them a nice shot in the arm.
Hopefully, shot in the arm is what they need going into Full Gear, because right now I am not all that excited about this show come this weekend. We're going to do a rapid-fire preview and predictions here, and then we're going to get to your Super Chats. Thank you guys for the 2,500 in here right now. We broke the goal of 750 likes, so thank you guys very much for that. Super Chats are still open. Get them on in, and we will be talking with you guys in just a little bit. But we'll start with the pre-show here. We got Big Boom AJ with Big Justice against QT Marshall. Jason's going to be eating a Costco cookie during the pre-show, and he's going to be rooting for the Rizzler.
Sure, yes. No, I won't. But so Big Boom AJ and Big Justice, they're 2 different people?
Big Boom AJ is the father, and Big Justice is the son, yes.
Okay, and the Rizzler is not related to them.
I don't think the Rizzler is part of the family, no.
Okay, but he's got his own TikTok stuff, but he's just sort of in their universe, basically?
I think so, yes.
Okay. He also eats
he does the whole chin. He eats clearly. He does the whole chin thing. I don't know what that's about. Like he's got a pretty face or something. I don't know.
The chin thing?
Yeah, he does he runs his finger over his chin. He's got this inquisitive look that he gives everybody. You didn't see the Rizzler? He does it in every video, every skit.
I know what he looks like. I said he looks like Hezbollah. I thought he was Hezbollah the first time I laid eyes on him. I said, how are they not one and the same? But you're talking about the chin thing. I don't know what the chin thing is.
You gotta watch the Costco thing, bro.
I know he's got 2 chins. I know that, but like, what does he do? He plays with it? Like, what do you mean?
He runs it. I don't know. He gives this inquisitive thinking look. I don't know.
That's his thing.
That's his thing. Yeah, I don't know. Shut him. Am I lying?
Just has an inquisitive look on his face.
I don't know. First of all, a lot of people.
Is he even going to be there?
Probably.
Okay.
I'm sure he'll be there. But Big Justice is going to be there in the corner of Big Boom AJ. A lot of people were making fun of this. I don't really know.
I'm having a blast making fun of this.
I don't know. I don't know what the point is. It's on the pre-show. Apparently.
Well, look, the point of this is that they have millions of followers on TikTok.
Yes.
Yes. And so Big Boom AJ, I want to get the name right. Big Boom AJ, he's going to be on Dynamite tomorrow night. And that's good, because if you're trying to tap into their followers, I don't know why you wouldn't have him on at least one TV show before the actual match. So they kind of have to have him on the show tomorrow. I'm just a little afraid of what they'll actually be doing. I don't know.
Hopefully it's a backstage segment with Renee and it's not in front of the live audience.
Well, it'll be something. I'm sure QT Marshall will be there. You know what's funny about this is, I know it's QT, so it's just somebody they can beat. Has he wrestled at all since he came back to the company?
No.
I don't think he's had a single match.
No, he's like upper management now.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, look, I mean, as far as predictions, I think we know how this is going to go. I mean, QT's in there for one reason. 2 reasons. Number one, he could help guide the match, but he can lose.
Well, Big Boom AJ was an independent pro wrestler.
But that was like 20 years ago. So he may be a little rusty. You got to have a veteran in there who could help guide him through certain things. And
I will say, though, QT Marshall has gotten himself into incredible shape. He looks great.
Sure, but he's going to lose.
He is going to lose. Yes.
He is going to lose, yes.
All right. We're going with Big Boom AJ. No wonder their ratings are in the 600s of thousands. This is what's going to be on Dynamite tomorrow.
No, but you know what? No, but look, they have a following. It might not be something that I'm following, and I'm only first learning in recent weeks about the Costco.
Yeah, but what does it do long term? Anything? No.
That's not what this is for. This is not for long term. This is an attraction. That's all this is. It's like when WWE will bring in.
You're coming to New Jersey to watch Full Gear for the Costco guys and the Rizzler?
No, you're coming in to watch Full Gear, but while you're there on the pre-show, they will have the Costco guys there. And so if some people know the Costco guys, they'll be excited. And the ones who don't, it won't matter because it's the pre-show and they're going to be either taking a leak or they're going to be getting a hot pretzel in line on the concourse. So
all right,
it's the pre-show. It's not a big deal.
I'm going to Sam's Club.
There you go.
Price Club, whatever. Which one?
BJ's.
BJ's, yeah. Mina, speaking of, never mind. Mina, she's back on TV. What a segment that was on Wednesday night, man. That was the best parts of AEW Dynamite.
Always. She's got a very bubbly, bouncy personality. But what's not to like about Mina? Mina's great.
I don't know. Everybody loves Mina. She's having a champagne celebration with Mariah May on the pay-per-view tomorrow night. No title match. Do we see Timeless Tony Storm return on Sunday night? Yes, okay.
I think that's the entire point of the segment.
Or Saturday night. I'm sorry, it's not Sunday. Saturday night.
Saturday. I think we get Tony Storm. I think we get Tony Storm back, and I think coming out of this, you not only have a rematch for Mariah with her and Tony, but I think ultimately we do get Mariah and Mina. I don't know if she turns against Mina on this show and then Tony comes out. I don't know how they're going to do it, but you could get 2 matches lined up for Mariah May to keep her busy for the next couple of months, coming out of the show. Because I think long term, the match I want to see is Mariah May, because I would not take the title off her just to put it back on Tony.
No.
So the match I'd like to see them build to is Mariah May and Jamie Hayter. You could build to that for Revolution. You could build to that for Double or Nothing. But in the meantime, you've got to come up with, a few solid programs for Mariah. You got 2 people right here.
Tony McCann in the chat says everyone was crying over that Mina segment. Why? I don't understand it. You got Mina on television. What is there to cry about? And someone else here, someone asked, Thomas Franco said, is there Jericho on the pay-per-view? Thank God, no, but we got him on Wednesday, and there's a contract signing with him and Tomohiro Ishii for the Ring of Honor World title match that will be taking place the following week. So there you go. You guys You guys know what your bathroom break is on Wednesday.
At least it's not on the pay-per-view, right? They could have put that title match on Full Gear and extended the show even longer, and instead they're saving it for TV, so that's good.
Well, no wonder they're not selling any tickets to Chicago. Now you know why.
You mean the Learning Tree and Ishii is not moving tickets?
No, it's surprisingly not.
Man.
No. Tag team championships on the line. Fatal 4-way. They had a contender series, which wasn't bad. I will give them that. Private Party have a daunting task on Saturday night. The Kings of the Black Throne are one of the teams. That's Malachi and Brody King. Then we got the Acclaimed, and we got the Outrunners. I am going with Private Party to win this match. I do think that the Outrunners will look very good in this match. They will be very over. But I think Private Party are going to retain. They just won the titles. It would be silly to take them off of Private Party so soon.
Yeah, Private Party is going to retain. I think the Outrunners are going to be cheered more than Private Party. I think they're going to be the favorites, the fan favorites, sentimental favorites in this match. But yeah, I was surprised to see Malachi and Brody go over on FTR. So when they beat them, that was surprising to me. Because FTR has been very chummy with the Outrunners, and I thought they would both move on. So that I didn't see that coming. And then we had the Acclaim beating Roosh and the Beast Mortos.
Oh my God!
Yeah, the Beast Mortos to get into the match. And boy, Jake Roberts, it's not going too well so far for his crew.
Was he out there with them?
I thought he was.
I didn't watch. I don't know.
I think he was. No, I think he was. Yeah, not going too well so far. You would think that they're the newer team. Put them over. The Acclaim. I'm sorry. The Acclaim to me is a dead act right now.
They are.
They're just dead. Anthony Bowens. I could see Anthony Bowens having a solid singles run if they wanted to kind of part ways at some point. I don't know if that's something he might want to do. The Acclaimed has run its course with me. I would have had Roosh and Mortos in here, frankly. But speaking of Frank, right? Mortos, isn't that his name? Frank?
Is it? Yeah, you're the biggest Beast Mortos fan I know.
Roderick Strong has been calling him Frank for some reason, and unless I missed the explanation why, I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Listen, I don't know why Tony Khan is glossing over the Beast Mortos pay-per-view inclusion here. I don't know. You would think that he'd be all over this fucking show, but apparently not.
Well, we haven't seen Hologram, I guess, because Hologram is injured.
Yes, he's injured.
He's hurt, so we haven't seen Hologram, or else he might be on this show. So at least get Mortos on there, but no Beast Mortos. Unless they add, you know what they'll probably do this week? They'll probably add like a fucking 12-man tag or something to the pre-show. Yeah, just to get them all. Because I mean, I'm shocked they only have one match announced for the pre-show. We're gonna get at least 3 more.
Yeah. Did you see that AEW shop has now hologram replica masks for sale?
I did not.
Yes. I put it
Are they
out.
of a decent quality at least?
I have no idea, but they're $49.99.
$50 for a hologram mask?
Yes.
Does that include the shipping?
No.
Jesus.
I asked everybody on my side, should I buy it? And there was an overwhelming yes. I should wear it on the Dynamite streams on Wednesday.
Why are people in the chat saying that Mortos is an attorney?
This is what I was hearing too. Is this true? Is he attorney by day and a fucking luchador by night? What's going on with this?
Yeah, I would be very intrigued now to find out, is he a lawyer and I didn't know about this? And if so, what kind of law does he specialize in? I need to know now.
Oh my God.
Is he like an ambulance chasing attorney? Does he do like real estate law? Like what kind of law does he practice? And does he wear the mask when he does it? Does he show up in court wearing the mask?
That would be hilarious, man. I'd actually watch a comedy based off that, honestly.
I would too. And then like he's in court waiting for like the plaintiff to show up. He's there with his the defendant, and then the plaintiff's attorney walks in, and it's just hologram in a suit with his mask on. So we have hologram here and the Beast Mortos here. And Mortos doesn't speak, right? So he just kind of grunts like that's his opening statement is basically his opening statement.
That I did see on Collision when Jake got involved after they lost their match. All he did was
yeah. I don't know if that'll go over too well in court, but yeah.
Apparently, someone in the chat said, Daddy Ugarte says it's very true. I don't know, man. You guys sometimes troll me, man. I don't know what's true and what's not true.
I don't believe that.
All right, well, we got to look into that.
I don't know where the Frank thing came from because, we're not supposed to know what his name is. Like with these luchadors, we don't know their identity. So I don't know where this Frank thing got
Frank
started.
Rizzo? From the Jerky Boys?
And that's going back old school now. That's going back. I have the cassette tapes. I still have some of the...
My dad has them too. Yeah, I know. Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher, one-on-one. Looking forward to this. 2 unbelievable pro wrestlers. I thought what Fletcher and Ospreay did on Wednesday was probably one of the best parts of Dynamite. I think when Will Ospreay gets animated and he gets some bass in his voice and he gets angry, he is a very underrated promo. And Kyle Fletcher shaved his hair. He don't want to be like Will Ospreay. He wants to be better than Will Ospreay. And I mentioned this on Wednesday with Jesse, Jason. I feel like if there's anybody here that is going to help further a younger talent, it's Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay's bulletproof. I feel like Kyle Fletcher absolutely needs to stand on his own and get a clean victory over Ospreay, and I think that's what's going to happen. I'm going with Kyle Fletcher.
I think that Will Ospreay is going to give him the best match of his life, and I think that they're legitimately friends, so he wants to go in there and he wants to give Kyle Fletcher the best match he possibly can. And I think him looking great in defeat is fine. Will Ospreay is going to win this match. And I think I would not be beating Will Ospreay. I think Will Ospreay is someone who is being built up for something much bigger next year. And again, not to say that it would kill him if he lost to Kyle Fletcher or that he would be unwilling. I'm sure he would love to put Kyle Fletcher over. I think the right way to go here is Will Ospreay wins. So I'm going with him for the victory here. But I think easily could be the show stealer.
Does Will Ospreay enter the Continental Classic this year?
That's tough because you're guaranteed however many, was it 8 matches that you're guaranteed to have? You're guaranteed to have so many great matches if you put him in there. But if he's not going to win, does Tony Khan want to put him in?
That's true.
Because I have a different idea for the Continental Classic, and that's without even knowing. We don't know yet. We won't know until after this weekend. Tony Schiavone said who the participants are going to be. I'm still very much in favor of a Takeshita Okada final. And I really hope that that is still something that's on the agenda here. They teased it, and then they just sort of dropped it cold. But I think you could absolutely still do it. And if you wanted to, you could even unify the two titles at the end of it. If Takeshita is still the international champion. So I personally, I'd rather see that. And if Ospreay's not going to win it, then I don't really see a point in him being in it.
That's a good point. I would love to see that happen. Actually, merge the international and continental titles.
Yeah,
there's no need. There's no need for two similar titles at all.
Yeah. And even if they don't want to merge them, I would still do it. I would have Takeshita and Okada in the final.
Yeah.
But maybe they dropped it because they just changed their mind and they don't want Takeshita to go babyface, which I kind of feel like he would if they did that. But I'm fine with that. So I love the idea.
The match nobody asked for here, MJF versus Roderick Strong. It was supposed to be Adam Cole, and we got all of this started with MJF getting a back massage from the lovely Natalya. And he said, and he even made a joke of it, that he had his opponents run through circles and through hoops to get to him at the pay-per-view, and that he would not be showing up until Full Gear. So we had an exhibition of 3 matches. MJF said, whoever is the first to 3 wins will get MJF at Full Gear in New Jersey. That was the original ruling. Then Adam Cole comes out after beating Malachi Black, and the hug heard around the world. And he said he spoke to Tony Khan, and he said, when both of us get 3 wins, then we're both going to get MJF for the pay-per-view, or the rules were changed. And he said, either one of us gets 3 wins. We both get the match at Full Gear against MJF. There was a flip-flopping of the rules. And that was actually stated. I'm not fibbing. I'm not lying. That was actually stated on television on both MJF and Adam Cole's account. Then we come to find out that Adam Cole logically lost to Takeshita and Roddy beat Lance Archer. So now Roddy gets the match and Adam Cole gets nothing. But I thought we were supposed to get both of them to 3 wins. And if both of them got the 3 wins, then they both get MJF. What happened, Jason?
Well, what happened is they don't have MJF on television. And so it's very hard to build to a match when one of the participants just isn't there, right? Kevin Owens made the most of it a few years ago going into the segment with Steve Austin at WrestleMania. But it's a tough thing to do. So I think what's going on here is they want to do Adam Cole and MJF at World's End. World's End is going to be a year after the Devil reveal. So there's a significance to it happening at that event. But I honestly think one of the bigger reasons is because they want to wait until MJF is back. And then you can properly build to this match with both men on the show, physically on the show. And I agree with that. I think that it actually does make more sense. MJF's been filming at least one movie. It was unavoidable, but you got to get him back on the show and do a proper build for a match like that. In the meantime, we get MJF and Roddy. I'm sure it's going to be a very good match, but I have no interest in it. It just that match doesn't interest me. But Roddy was introduced into the story, I think, to enhance the Cole MJF story. So there could be a turn in here. There could be something that goes down involving Cole and Roddy. We'll see if it happens on the pay-per-view. I think Adam Cole will absolutely be there. I think he'll factor into this match. I think MJF is going to win. I mean, any other outcome here just seems ridiculous to me. But that's why I think they're holding off on it. They want to wait until MJF is back, and they want to specifically do that match and save it for World's End at the end of the year. And I think that's the smart play.
Did AEW drop the ball and not have, or without, let me rephrase that. Did AEW drop the ball with not having Roddy and Adam Cole wrestle each other for the final match to get to MJF? Would you have rather seen that happen, play out that way?
I see. The thing is, I think we still get to the same place.
Okay.
So I feel like it would end up being MJF and Roddy. And so Roddy would beat Adam Cole. If Cole had beaten Roddy, now you're getting MJF and Cole at Full Gear, which I don't think they want to do it this quickly. But at least there it would have made sense if Roddy ended up kind of betraying Cole. Because maybe he was upset, that he beat him. But I still feel like we were going to end up in the same spot regardless, even though they changed the rules in mid-story. Like you said, originally it was who can get to 3 wins first. Then logically, it looked like Cole and Roddy would have to fight each other. Like if I'm MJF, that's what I would do. Right?
Yeah.
You want me? You two guys got to fight it out. But I think ultimately it would have been MJF and Roddy because they just wanted to hold off just a little bit longer on doing that match and really build it up as something big. Right? We've had no segments in the ring face-to-face with Cole and MJF. All the history from their storyline last year. I mean, you got to get them both in the ring, put a microphone in their hand, and let them go at it. And we haven't had any of that. So save it for World's End.
Any interest in Undisputed Era getting back together? I know I'm not interested.
No. Okay. No. I know they're building to something. I saw the stuff with Kyle O'Reilly. I have no interest in it. I mean, this is a story now, or like a relationship with all three that has spanned 3 different promotions, right? Cole and Kyle, they go back to the Future Shock days in Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor, WWE, AEW, like, I'm over it. Like, enough already. You know, like, there's nothing there. And you saw the reaction from the crowd, too. It didn't sound like they were terribly enthusiastic either.
No.
I just can't bring myself to care about this stuff.
Nothing beats that original NXT Black and Gold Undisputed Era. Man, do I miss that. That ain't this. So MJF's going to win. Yes. Swerve and Bobby Lashley. Seems pretty academic to me. Bobby Lashley's first match in AEW. Bobby Lashley gets his first win in AEW. But what does that mean for Swerve, Jason? Do we get a continuation of Swerve battling the Hurt Business, or do we see Swerve maybe work alongside the Hurt Business? And if you can't beat him, join him, because Swerve has had 0 friends to help back him up against Shelton, MVP, and Bobby Lashley.
I think it would be a step down for him to join another faction. I don't think he needs it. I do think he loses here. I don't think you want to beat Lashley in his first match. And then I think it continues. So there may be a rematch, maybe at World's End. But I don't see Swerve joining them. I mean, they've been trying to recruit Ricochet. I'm not so sure he joins either. So where's that going to go? Are they going to continue to tease that and make Ricochet their next target? Ricochet's got an international title match coming up. I'm surprised it's not scheduled for this show. Maybe it will be this week.
Well, now that you mentioned that, I'm looking at the card. I do not see it there. That's very odd that you mentioned that.
Yeah, it's not officially announced for the show. Again, they have tomorrow. They can make it official tomorrow, but right now they're not on the show. So we'll see when they do that. But he's the number 1 contender. You know, he's next in line for it. But I think Lashley goes over, and they just continue the program with him and the Hurt Syndicate.
I actually wouldn't even mind if they left it off the show tomorrow night, or Saturday night rather, and save it for a Dynamite. I think I would actually prefer it on a Dynamite.
Well, I mean, in December, don't they have Winter is Coming?
They do.
Save it for that show.
Yeah. There you go. Adam Page versus Jay White should be another banger. I thought their match at Wrestle Dream was fucking great. They opened the show. I would absolutely have them open the show again on Saturday night. And I'm going with Adam Page because they did protect Adam Page in a loss at Wrestle Dream. I think Page gets his win back here over Jay White.
I do too. Yeah, I would not be beating. I wouldn't have beaten Hangman the first time, to be honest with you. But I know. But I would have him going over here, and then if you want to do another match, again, Winter is Coming is going to be fast approaching. You could always do a third match with a stipulation between them and kind of blow it off there. Hangman needs to win this match. And I think it's been a very basic story that they've told, right? These two guys don't like each other. They had a great wrestling match. They don't like each other. And they've incorporated Hangman's leg as a target in this story for Jay White. And Jay has told him, like, that leg is going to be your downfall. So we already know going into the match what the story of the match is likely going to be. But it's been a very basic story and very effective, right? Nothing over the top. They haven't overcomplicated it. And like you said, we know where they're going to go out there, and they're going to have a great match. So I'm looking forward to it. They
both want the world title. Two guys who don't like each other, who are in each other's way for the world title. Look at that.
How about that?
Yeah. Do you see both of these guys in the content?
Do we even have a world title anymore? I haven't seen a physical championship.
It's in that briefcase that supposedly is big enough for the Rizzler, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did they like mash it down to like a pancake? I mean, it's not a big Halliburton they have there. So,
Do you see both of these guys in the Continental Classic?
I do.
Okay. I hope so. I think that would make for a great tournament. Jack Perry versus Danny Garcia TNT Championship. I mean, you could ask me if I care all day long. I'll give you the same answer. I don't. Danny Garcia is going to win the TNT title, get it off Jack Perry, and let's start whatever they want to do with Danny Garcia. Let's start doing that. So he's going to be the new champion.
Yeah. It feels like the right time. I think he's the one, whether it happens here or not, I think he's the one who's taking that title off of Jack Perry. So you may as well just kind of rip the Band-Aid off and get it over with, and then we can move on from this because they've been trying. But I haven't really fully invested in this. I think they'll have a very good match, but I don't see any reason for Garcia not to leave here with the championship.
TBS titles on the line in the greatest storyline of all time in AEW history. Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander for the TBS title.
The best.
It's unbelievable. Camille, the way she's been treated, looks like a fucking schmuck out there. I mean, the plasterboard spot going through the wall on Wednesday night last week was comedy in itself. I mean, they've done that spot now multiple times, and it just looks worse every single time. And Camille didn't look any better for it, but here we are. And then they went right to Excalibur, who was running down the card, laughing his ass off about what had just transpired in the back. So it's like, hey, thanks for getting me invested in the fucking match between these two ladies. Thanks, guy.
It was such a big deal, and then he sort of just giggles, and then they just move on to the next segment. Like, okay, all right, it's a big spot. They just kind of blew it off. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Stat wins the title?
No, Mercedes.
Yes, I'm just joking.
Okay, I didn't know if you were being serious. Mercedes. She retains, obviously. It's too bad because I think they'll have a really good match. I actually think that this is the biggest test yet for Mercedes in her AEW run because Statlander is an established talent there. Statlander has had some great matches. That last match she had with Willow Nightingale.
Yeah.
Her best friend that she betrayed, even though now she's supposed to be a babyface. So she's had some really good matches. People like her. And, if you can't go in there and have a great match with these two women, then there's just something that clearly is not clicking. I think it'll be good. The story, I wish, was strong enough to support the match itself. This story has been just completely ice cold. It just, I just don't care about what they've done here. And they have made Camille, like you said, just look so weak. And they've been constantly teasing a breakup between the two of them. And now Camille her arm was in a sling after what happened the week before. And Mercedes is berating her like Ted DiBiase and Virgil. I guess maybe they're trying to get sympathy on Camille. But if they're going to split these two up anytime soon, they've been together for 3 months.
There's no equity in Camille.
No, none. You keep them together for a year before you even start thinking about doing something like this. So it's a shame. This pairing could have worked. It's been a fucking fail. And it didn't have to be. And that's what's frustrating about it. But here we are. And now all I hope for is that we at least get a good match out of it. Because Mercedes has had a rough go of it so far. I feel like in AEW, she seems to be having fun. She's having the time of her life.
Good for her.
She said that this is the most fun she's had. Great. Congratulations. But does she feel as big as she did when they had big business in Boston?
No. Not even close to what they did there.
So you would hope the goal is that when you look ahead 6 months, 9 months, a year down the road, that you're in an even better spot or that you're an even bigger star than you were when you first came in. And we can't say that about her. So the booking has not been kind. And I think she needs a really banger of a match that the people can actually invest in. Because the people have been very cold. Look at the reactions to a lot of her matches. Like, I don't think they were helped by their spot on the card last time. If I remember, was it the last show or the show before that? I think they were on second to last, maybe. That didn't help. Or you know what it was? I think they came after the Ospreay MJF match at Wembley. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, you mean the Britt and Mercedes match? Yeah, it came in the co-main event spot. Yeah.
Yeah. So that didn't help. But there's no chance of Mercedes losing this title.
Mercedes is going to retain. Some people in the chat asking, where is Willow Nightingale? She is out with a concussion. She will be back hopefully soon.
Yeah, that's right. She was supposed to have a match in CMLL.
Yep.
And I don't know if the injury happened when she was in Mexico or not, but yeah, they took her out.
Agree on Mercedes. She retains. Jon Moxley and Orange Cassidy is your main event. I know. Ha, ha, ha. Is it a main event match? Not really, but they did have a banger match in Chicago at All Out last year. AEW World Title match. Jon Moxley, Orange Cassidy. Jon Moxley will retain. Orange Cassidy is taken to the dark side. He now wears dark black denim. And he came out, Jason, on Wednesday, no emotion. He said, hello, everybody. And he wants to wrestle. He wants to wrestle Wheeler Yuta in a wrestling match after Moxley has been decimating bodies left and right. He wants to wrestle Wheeler Yuta on Wednesday. I didn't really get the vibe of that promo. I just felt completely desensitized from literally everything this storyline is trying to tell us, just based on his promo. And that did this match no favors, in my honest opinion.
That promo, it felt like he was reciting lines.
Yes.
That promo did not work. We know that Moxley is going to be wrestling Darby at some point. This is only the first challenger since he won the championship, so Jon Moxley is going to retain the AEW World Title. There is no other possible outcome to this match other than Moxley retaining the title.
Does the show go off the air? This is the last thing before we get to the Super Chats. Does the show go off the air in the similar way that we saw Wrestle Dream go off the air? Something dastardly, something chaotic, evil needs to happen from the Death Riders? Do we get a Nexus-style, just absolute decimation of the ringside area? What do we get here? Do we get bodies laying about? I don't know.
I think they try to do to him what they did to Bryan Danielson, but somebody is going to come out and intervene, and it's just a matter of who that is. Is it going to be Darby? Is it going to be somebody we're not thinking of? Somebody who comes back? Big name. It should be a big name. I don't know. I don't know. But I think they try to, and then they get stopped. And that's sort of the parting shot or the cliffhanger that leads into Dynamite the following week. Because to just repeat the same angle, basically, you did at the end of Wrestle Dream, and that's it. And the heels win and they go off the air would be fucking lame. So I think that they probably have somebody lined up, whoever that is. I guess maybe they'll be the next person going after Jon Moxley.
Juan Salazar in the chat says, Wheeler useless. I don't know. That's how people are feeling about this storyline, man.
You know what I loved on Dynamite? They had the promo. It might have been that promo segment. And Claudio and Yuta were standing next to each other in the aisleway, and they were looking down the ramp. And I think Cassidy called him a pawn, right? Like, Yuta, you're a pawn. And then they cut to Yuta, and Yuta's like, I'm no pawn, right? And Claudio's like, shut up. Shut up.
Yes, you are.
And then he just shut up.
Oh, man. Dynamite should be something, man. Jason and I are going to be live on our respective channels tomorrow to cover it all for you. But thank you guys very much for a very fun episode of TNT. We had upwards towards close to 2,500 people in here. So thank you guys very much. By my metrics, we just hit 2,500. Super chats are open. We're going to get through them in just a bit. 830 likes. You guys crushed the goal. And go follow Jason on YouTube and on Twitch. Everything you need is linked in the description down below. Let's see. Who do we got here? We're going to start. Sidro's got a bunch of them. Get ready. Get ready. $2 super chat by Sidro. Just going to read them off. Bronson Reed bashed Punk on X after Punk's interview. I saw that. He says he was going to turn his Pepsi logo into a Coca-Cola one. Whatever that meant. Sidro also says, Reed's words to Punk, I am money. Oh, here you go. Whoop him so hard, his Pepsi logo was turned to a Coca-Cola one. Taste the feeling, bitch. Hashtag fifth man Punk. We'll see. Either Punk or Dwayne. I'm going Punk. So is Jason. Sidro. Uh-oh. I don't think he told you this one on your stream. $10 super chat by Sidro. He told me this one. I know this one. This joke is what you wanted me to tell Solomonster tonight from last night. This is a discussion between Skeletor and a girl. Skeletor says, "You have me feeling like the king of all 7 planets." Girl says, "Aren't there 8 planets?" Skeletor says, "Not after I destroy Uranus."
You know, Skeletor was part of my childhood, and you are ruining my childhood here. You do realize this.
There you go, Sidro. Hopefully that was worth it for you, man. Thank you. He also says, "Why isn't there a pregnant Barbie doll? Ken came in another box. Also, how did Burger King get Dairy Queen pregnant? He forgot to wrap his Whopper."
I have nothing to add to that.
I like the Barbie one doll better.
The Barbie one was much better, yes.
Francis Loop, what's up, brother? Did you guys see the Mariah May versus Anna Jay no DQ match? To me, it was more of a hardcore match, but not violent enough to be a pay-per-view match. I love the guardrail suplex from Anna Jay. Awesome. He also says, "What do you think of Beef? He is like a Kevin Owens and organically gets cheered by the fans. I do love the trio of JD Drake, Butcher, and the Beef." You know, I wanted to ask you. Again, I'm going to put my tinfoil cap on for a 4th time tonight. Did you find it very bizarre that of all the people in the locker room or in the locker room that JD Drake got attacked on Wednesday?
No, I just thought they wanted to take some lower level guy and just have him, get beaten up with a chair. I don't even think it mattered. It may have been a case where he was literally standing there and they said, "Hey, you, come here."
I don't know. I just think it was like a subliminal attack for some reason. I don't know.
I don't think there was any real thought put into it, like who the person would be.
JD Drake, JD Inc. I mean, what's going on over there?
I need to know more about Beef.
He's a collision mace. I don't know. His name is just Beef. I don't know. He's a big guy.
Okay.
I think you're the only one, Francis, that wants to see that trio.
Yeah, I can't say that I agree, but...
no, I didn't watch the Anna Jay Mariah May match. I only watched Moxley's promo and whatever Jake the Snake Roberts did on Collision, and that was it.
I did watch the match. It was like a garbage match, but you could see Anna Jay has improved.
Yes.
You could see the improvement in Anna Jay. I thought that it was fine. I agree with you. Not a pay-per-view match, but that's why it wasn't on pay-per-view. That's why it was on TV, so I thought it was fine.
Best in the world, Matt, with 2 months. Thank you, bro. Didn't Heyman tell Solo that Roman said that CM Punk was off limits out of respect to the wise man? Love all of you in the OTS fam. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Will that promo come back to play? I don't know. I thought that was done for a reason. We may see that reason soon. Chris Lloyd with a $2 super chat. Punk is the 5th man, which will anger Seth. That's the plan. That's the vision. Michelle with a 5. If we are getting Rollins Punk, does McIntyre get involved in their feud? And do we see Rock at Survivor Series? Also, Full Gear feels like an afterthought next to Survivor Series. It does, because it's the Bloodline, so that's, without question. But no, McIntyre, I don't think gets involved with Punk anymore.
Yeah, you just got to leave it alone.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I suggested moving him over to SmackDown.
Al Bundy's boss with a $9.99. My girl asked me what I was reading. I told her a book called Anti-Gravity. She asked, "How is it?" I said, "Honey, it's impossible to put down."
What is going on?
Ben Wilby Anglin with a $5 super chat from England. Who needs sleep? I love you too. Any chance the wise man brings Brock to the party? Who are your initial picks for the Rumbles? Ben, thank you. Brock will not be at Survivor Series, and who wins the Rumble? I mean, that's too early to tell, man. I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's too early to tell, but if I have to spit out some names that I think are in the running and favored, John Cena on the men's side, I think probably got to be one of the favorites. And on the women's side, I would have said Io Sky if she wasn't already in line for a shot at the Women's World Championship. So I'm inclined to say no because of that. Otherwise, I would have gone with her. I hate to say it, but
I know. You don't even have to say it. I know who you're thinking. I'm thinking the same thing. John Cena or Randy Orton for the Rumble. Sidro with a 5. Why did the snowman suddenly smile? He saw the snowblower coming. Oh my God.
Awful.
Also, what did Cinderella say to Prince Charming? She says, want to see if it fits. I don't know. The other one was a little bit more naughty.
They seem to be getting worse.
Yeah. Adam Khan, the only real Khan, $50 super chat. No questions. Just have a great day. Look at this fucking guy. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate you, brother. Criggy with the 9 months. All he says is goats. Okay. Thank you, Criggy.
Thank you.
Sidro with a 5. 3 jokes. As if there wasn't enough. What do you call an Italian hooker? A prostitute.
Okay, that's awful. That is awful. Okay, that's just, you got to retire now. I mean, that's just.
Oh,
that's
man.
bad.
Bro, where are you getting your jokes from tonight, man? What does the horny toad say? He says, rub it.
I mean, we're getting into like Liver Morgan territory here now.
Why did the ranch blush? He saw the salad dressing. Oh my God. Sidro, you're really fucking dropping him dead here, man. Holy shit. Al Bundy's boss with a $9.99. How did Burger? What is this fucking? What is this? Caroline's in New York City, man. What the fuck's going on here?
It's like open mic night here. What's going on?
Al Bundy's boss with a $9.99. How did Burger King get Dairy Queen? What? How did Burger King get Dairy Queen pregnant? He forgot to wrap his Whopper. Why did the snowman suddenly smile? He could see the snowblower. What are you fucking? You stealing jokes?
Now we're recycling within the same stream.
Oh my God, what is going on here, man? Arabian Night with a $6.99. 2 women's mid-card belts now in WWE. Shaking my head. Looks like the first place goes to WWE for having too many belts, even more than AEW now. Less is more Triple H. Bro, nothing's been announced yet. There's no IC title yet. It's coming, but nothing's announced yet. And let's see how the U.S. title thing plays out. Maybe they had more women. Both shows are going 3 hours. They're definitely going to have to. Sidro, $2 super chat. Oh, this is a wrestling joke. What's Solo Sikoa's favorite TV channel? Spike TV. Yeah, that's a thumbs down, bro. Not LA Night. Arabian Night.
LA Knight's right there.
LA Knight is cold at the moment.
Everybody's watching TNT.
LA Knight is cold at the moment. Who do you see him facing going into WrestleMania season? I'd love to see Drew go to SmackDown and feud with him. Other than that, I don't know. Jacob Fatu? Chad Gable?
Well, assuming this Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes thing plays out before then, and we end up maybe with Cody and Randy, that would free up KO. How about KO and LA Knight?
I could see it. I like it. Gold Standard with a $5 super chat. Do you guys think a lot of people are going to pay $50 to see the Plumber and Pockets main event Full Gear?
Well, they got at least 7,500 people who are paying to go see the show, so I guess the answer is yes.
Yeah. Dan the Cards fan with a $9.99. I feel like McIntyre hasn't been booked properly in years. They have to give him a world title reign in front of fans. Dan, he had probably the best feud in all of pro wrestling all year. What are you talking about, bro?
Yeah, in years. I mean, this is probably his best year. What do you mean in years?
Oh, man, I don't know if that was a joke meant to not be a joke, but I don't know, man.
No, he probably just is equating it to the championship. But just because he's not the champion doesn't mean that, he can't be featured and doing good things. This was the best year of his career. And at some point, he'll probably have his run in front of fans. But, I mean, come on. He just had an incredible year, all things considered. He was feuding with somebody who wasn't even physically active, and he was knocking him dead every single week.
HBKC 83 with a 5. Who would you book against Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania? Wade Barrett? I like the idea. I don't really know if that's the direction they're going in, but I mean, yeah, it's a solid question. We don't really know yet.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. There's no sense of what direction they're going to go in, what brand he's going to be on, right? I mean, it's going to be partially dictated by what show he's on. The Barrett thing, it sounds like a one and done. You could do it, but I would hope they can come up with something a little bit better for him than that.
Learning Tree Jericho, 8131 with a $10 super chat. DIY can't split before we get a DIY Usos feud or match. I've been waiting on it for 8 years. A heel DIY versus the Usos would be a great match for WrestleMania. I don't think they're going in that direction for WrestleMania, but I'd like to see it too.
You really think they're going to take any of the Bloodline members and kind of downgrade them to DIY?
No.
Like in the pecking order there, DIY as compared to the Bloodline is pretty low on the list. You might get a SmackDown match out of it, but not a WrestleMania match.
Major with a 199. Mike Tyson and John Cena versus the Paul brothers at WrestleMania. No. I hope not.
Yeah, I'm going to say no to that.
Gold standard.
Although John Cena against Logan Paul, I could see that being a WrestleMania match.
Absolutely. Gold standard with a 5. He says hologram and pockets for the world title at All In 2025. No, thank you. This is not a video game simulator. Or it kind of is in real life, but no. No, thank you. MGM Ballin with a 36 months finally upgraded from the mic to the title emote. Appreciate you, brother. Lots of champs in here. OTS, almost as many as AEW Ring of Honor, waiting for Snowman to give them all to Hologram. Okay. Hologram, listen, if they want to consolidate titles and make a cruiserweight title, I wouldn't be surprised if Tony does that, to be honest with you. They give it to Hologram. Fixes a bond with a $10 super chat. Solomon, so the definition of conspiracy or conspiracy theory requires more than one person to conspire. TK is one man, and I agree with JD. People can be petty. It doesn't take conspiracy. Oh, boy.
People can be petty. We agreed that he's being very petty with some of these people. But what we're talking about when we come to conspiracy theories is saying, well, X is happening because of Y. Like, X is related to Y. So the conspiracy in this case would be anybody who feels, and JD is the one who floated the idea, that these people are in some way being punished because of their relationship with CM Punk. And if you have any number of people who believe that, or believe that everything stems from, Phil Brooks, that's where the so-called conspiracy comes from. So, I mean, you can hang on whatever words you want to hang on, but I think I was pretty clear in what I was saying, what I meant by what I said. So, I'm not even sure what you're bringing up or what the issue is there. But okay,
it's
Thanks.
good. It's good to discuss, guys. That's the reason for the show. We're not supposed to agree on everything. It's like
no, I mean, but that's where the conspiracy element of this comes from. People who might buy into the idea that, again, this is all related to Phil Brooks in some way, and there's some sort of weird, punishment going on here. I mean, you can use whatever word for it you want. If it's not, if it's not by dictionary definition correct. Again, he called it a conspiracy theory. I just went off of that, but I mean, I think I made myself pretty clear about where I stand.
Cake with 35 months. Lesnar wasn't the same after his match with his bouts with diverticulitis, and you're looking at Kenny's comments with wrong eyes. Well, I think we can agree with diverticulitis taking a lot out of Lesnar, and I'm sure it happened to Omega, and he doesn't feel anywhere close to what he used to. But what did we take out of context with Kenny's comments? I mean, he said that there's nothing wrong with AEW. That's not
literally
true.
That's literally what he said, and I don't believe that he believes that, but that's what he said. So,
Justin Toner with a $10 super chat. Stephanie Vaquer and Zarya qualify for the Women's Iron Survivor match tonight on NXT, joining Sol Ruka. Julia versus Kalani Jordan qualifier next week. That match is going to be stacked. Thanks, guys. All the right women are in the match. That's what I have to say about that. And Julia will advance. I don't know. Is that match going to be for the women's title, or is Roxanne going to be a part of that, or is it for a number one contendership? What was it last year?
I think it's number one contender.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hollywood Guy with a 5. Does Nakamura take the U.S. title from LA Knight? Yes or no? I think Nakamura takes it. The answer is no. LA Knight's walking into WrestleMania as the champion. Alex with a 10. Brother JD and Solo. Now the $1 million question. How do you fix Chad Gable's booking? What is his ceiling heading into 2025? All I will say before I give it to Jason is move him over to SmackDown. Seriously, the whole group, move him over to SmackDown.
Heading into 2025, he has hit his ceiling. I'm sorry to say.
Sadly. Adam Hernandez with a 20. Shout out to all the women in wrestling doing their best shit. WWE, NXT, AEW, regardless of the bullshit booking. Kenzie Page holding it down in NWA, and Sol Ruka for that fucking finisher, the Soul Snatcher. Yes, it's a great looking finish. It's,
you know what I would love
easily
to see?
countered though. All you got to do is move out of the way.
I was gonna say, like, I'm dying one of these days to see somebody pull a Samoa Joe on her.
Yeah.
And just casually walk out of the way, and she just crashes. She just crashes and burns on the mat. It's going to get over so big.
Yeah, she's great. Love her.
Yeah.
Hollywood Guy with a $2 Super Jack. Could you see Hobbs in the Hurt Syndicate? Yes. I don't know why they didn't bring him back and put him, at least tease him in the Hurt business. I don't think teaming with Ricochet and going against the Don Callis family does much of anything.
Yeah, I mean, you could put him in there, but I just kind of feel like there's potential there for him to really break out on his own, and just sticking him in another faction, I don't know that that's the answer. You know, he went from Team Taz to whatever the hell QT Marshall's crew used to be called, and then the Callis family, and then he got hurt. So I would let him rip on his own, man. I think he can get over on his own as a top shelf babyface instead of just sticking him in another group.
Francis Loop with a 10, and he says, no, I don't see Hobbs in the Hurt Syndicate, but I can see him feuding with them. It would be big for his career to get Swerve's babyface rub instead of being Bobby Lashley's shadow. There you go. You just uttered what Jason just said.
Yep.
John Wick of Spider Hunters, Nate TV with a $10 Super Chat. Triple H wanted me to make a wrestling show with Nintendo and listen to these names from the Mushroom Tower: Noodle Man, Pasta Savage, Superman Peach, Jack Blue Fungus, Jack Blue Fungus Flair, and Mr. Smash. We sold out in 64 minutes. Bro, are you on some fucking fungus? Seriously.
I think he's on mushrooms and something. Yeah.
All right.
Not the functional ones, but the really good ones.
You guys are fucking crazy, man. Francis Loop says with a $10 Super Chat, 4 hours after spending my first group of Super Chats, I can still send Super Chats at almost 9 p.m. Awesome. Let's unify these two factions and call them the Undisputed Conglomeration. That would be awesome.
Awesome. Awesome is not the word I would use for it.
No. Now get the conglomeration off my fucking TV, please. Everybody but Mark Briscoe. Cool Bro with a $4.99. Paul Levesque reportedly has pain in his shoulders, neck, and knees. He has triples aches.
What the hell? You come up with this.
Oh my God. Major with a $1.99. He quotes me from 2 weeks ago. He says, JD, AEW lost to little fucking Guido. Yes, that's exactly what I said. Because NXT, ECW beat AEW on Wednesday nights. Yes, they did.
I said they would. I mean, I thought that was pretty clear they were going to.
Krauser with the $2 Super Jack going to WrestleCade next weekend. Massive show. Have a good time, brother.
Enjoy.
Cake. Thoughts on the hilarious OP women's team? What women's team? The NXT women's team?
The OP women's team?
What is the War Games women's team? Which one's OP? Rhea's team? They got some solid name stack there.
Yeah. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, and Io Sky, all on one side.
Sidro with a 2. What's 6 inches long and 2 nuts at the end? An almond joy. Do you get it?
You know what? No, I don't. And you know what I love is that Sidro laughs at his own jokes because he puts the emoji at the end of each one. Like, yeah. I always love a good comedian who laughs at their own jokes.
Julia's Charisma with a 27 months. Cheers to being 2 years with the OTS VIP section and looking forward to Julia next week. Thank you. And we'll end with this one. Alex with a 5. do you guys think with Punk potentially joining Roman's Bloodline and War Games, there will be a brief teaser for a future feud between them in 25? Oh, yes, it is happening. Whether it's 25, maybe early 26, but I would say 25 for sure, yeah.
CM Punk said it to Peter Rosenberg. When the time comes that we get Roman Reigns and CM Punk in the ring together or face-to-face at the same time, it will be a moment. And not if, but when it happens, it will be a sign of what's to come. These things are not done by accident. They're done on purpose.
I can't wait for that. That's going to be cinema, like all the cool kids on social media say. Guys, thank you very much for all of your support. 2,500. We broke the goal. You guys killed it with the super chats. Great time in the super chats, as always, on Tuesday night. Jason, I'm going to let you sound this off. What do you got, man?
The only thing I can talk about here, I am just blown away by this idea of the Beast Mortos as a lawyer, and now I need to know if this is just some gag or if this is true. And apparently they said it originated with Meltzer, so it's probably not true. But I will have to look into this because I'm intrigued by this idea.
We got to find out if his real name is Frank and if he's an attorney at law. Yes.
Yeah, like Harvey Birdman.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Thank you guys very much for all your support. We will be back next week with episode 74 right here on TNT. Same time, same channel, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Jason and I will be live on our respective channels for AEW Dynamite tomorrow night. And make sure you guys go follow him on Twitter and on YouTube. Everything you need is linked down below. Until next week, guys, we'll see you later.